What's happening, everyone? Good morning and welcome to Season Gaming Bitcast episode 222. I'm your host, Ainsley Bowden, joined as always by this lovely group of characters you see in front of you. First, but certainly not last, looking particularly dapper, like extra dapper this morning, is our favorite dog party host, Hi Guy Travis. Good morning, sir.
Attendee, I'll have you know. And yes, I'm doing great. It is a beautiful morning in the People's Republic of San Francisco. I'm happy to be here.
Fair enough. Joined as always with Gaming Dino over his shoulder and looking out for all of us, really, is none other than the Hogue himself. Good morning, sir.
I was getting all excited about you calling me dapper this morning because I'm feeling pretty good, but that's all right. Travis does look good. Travis,
let's get your photo from industry perspectives up, and then we'll call you dapper.
I was gonna say, a lot of people did reflect on that picture and say that they didn't believe it was me because I don't have a hat. I'll have you know, the entirety of my career before I went off on my own, I had to not have hats on. You're really not allowed to wear hats at large law firms. So, yeah, I mean, partially that's why I left.
I was going to say, this is why you started the firm, no doubt. And I will have everyone know that prior to it going public, I had a different Hogue thumbnail on that picture on that thumbnail, which he asked me to change.
I did. It's like the worst picture that they have of me on the internet. Like the photo guy was tired that day, and he's like, "It looks fine."
I sent it over to it. He's like, "Oh God, I hate that picture." Oh yeah, I'll DM it here shortly. No worries.
Thanks, man.
No
Appreciate it.
It's awful.
We'll be using it as a thumbnail on IGN whenever we quote him. So
there you go. There you go.
Thumbnail on IGN when you quote me. You just take my
no one
gets
the
product of my intellectual labor, and then you just sell ads on it for your own benefits.
That's good. That's how we do it.
Yeah, I'm doing it wrong. Apparently. And last but certainly not least, my friend D7, Mr. Rodriguez. Good morning, sir.
Hello. I've been up all night. We had a sister-in-law go into labor, so not great. No,
okay, not yet.
Not yet. No, she went. No, so they took her in last night because her water broke, and they said, "No, your water didn't break. We're going to send you home." And they did another test, and they're like, "Oh no, we were wrong. It actually did break." I was like, "Well, we're getting off to
with medicine as well."
So, I was like, "All right." So yeah,
the American medical system, everyone.
Yeah. Did they test the water? They were like, "Oh yeah, this water is broken."
No, they
this
tested
is Aquafina.
Is this Diet Coke? No, it was not showing up as the correct fluid, and it this is a little graphic. I don't know why we're talking about it. We're getting a little bit deep here.
Actually, we're far enough along.
She is in active labor right now. So my wife is gone.
Not fun
over there. Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers.
I just said bye. I got a podcast. Got to go do some stuff.
There you go.
So,
there you go.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what Travis is going to do too when he has kids.
Yep.
He's just going to leave.
I was about to say another reason I will not be having children right here. Another exhibit.
Yep. Just get him out of there.
Let's go. What's going on, everyone? Good to see everyone in the chat this morning or afternoon for you if you're over across the pond. Hope everyone is doing well. So today we're going to be talking about CD Projekt Red's future roadmap that they gave out in detail. We're going to be talking about that. Yeah, very ambitious. And we'll get into it. We're even going to talk about Dead Space and Need for Speed and a few other things. But first, I want to say thank you. It's been almost like a month of milestones, really. And I know I put out this week that September was our most successful kind of Bitcast month ever in terms of views and listens. Continue to grow. So thank you very much, everyone. And we are racing towards 15,000 subs. Racing towards 15,000 subs on the channel. I think we're like 150 away right now, something like that. So just appreciate all of you who listen in and hang out with us. So it's awesome.
Well, 150 subs. As long as we don't offend too many people in this episode, I think we could possibly get that done right now. Tell your friends, folks. If you haven't subbed yet, sub. Tell your friends to sub. Don't even tell them what we're talking about, or tell them something false about what we're talking about. We're a big fashion channel. Nothing is more fashionista than Travis here. Or myself, of course, always delivering the hat and sweatshirt goods. Tell folks to subscribe. It'll make Ains happy, and happy Ains is happy for the rest of us.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. I want to cover some comments too. I got a really detailed comment on Star Citizen. We talked about Star Citizen a couple weeks ago.
You asked for that.
I did. I said, if anyone plays Star Citizen, please talk to us, because I find that a lot of us included, talk about Star Citizen, and we know everyone knows the funding conversation, but not much else. And so a lady named Vanessa commented and gave us a very detailed comment, which I'm going to read the bulk of.
Okay.
But she said, when looking at Star Citizen, I feel it's best to look at it not so much as a game in quotes, but a space simulator that has all these different aspects connected to it. The space combat is almost akin to a space version of DCS, Digital Combat Simulator. I don't know what that is, which the community of aviation and flight simmers would scream at if you called it a game, or much the same as racing sims like Assetto Corsa Competition. I'm just going to say competition. Or iRacing. Yeah. The FPS side of Star Citizen kind of has that sci-fi Arma 3 aspect, while other elements or in the universe professions like mining, logistics, running, medical have that MMO-esque feel to it. It is supposed to shape into a living, breathing universe ultimately. And for those who initially backed it for a single-player Wing Commander style space combat sim, feel let down for taking so long.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I totally get it. She said, I totally get it. They just wanted a game, not this massive, never-ending project. It's almost like Halo Infinite, where we can see that. I think she tried to relate this to me. It's almost like Halo Infinite, where we can see that the initial... Yeah, exactly. Where the initial dev work was a game that was open world, but then changed with the shoehorning of an unfinished linear experience. Star Citizen, I disagree a bit there. Star Citizen suffers from the opposite. A universe which started as a game, but then morphed into a vast MMO, pulling in elements from other games and simulators to form a universe as the goalposts were continually moved. She also says there's more here, but she also says the experience is anything but traditional in the gaming space, and it's definitely not for everyone. I recognize what that's like in video games. It's not at all what others like. Let's see. That's the bulk of it. That's the bulk.
I will continue to say it's not my job to tell you folks what to do with your money. Okay? You can go find value on all sorts of things. Ains finds value out of $1,000 statues. Okay?
Great.
That's not me.
Value is a strong word.
Star Citizen is its own thing. I think Chris Roberts has figured out a model that some people apparently appreciate, that they can make a lot of money on. And I do think that disincentivizes ever kind of completing the thing. But if you like it, you like it. Go nuts. Absolutely.
Yeah. She actually wrote quite a bit more too. She gave a lot of detail. So that's cool though. But thank you very much, Vanessa. I really appreciate that context as to what, that experience is like for a player. And she did say, there is free to play like events and stuff that you can join in and try out aspects of it. So by all means, if you're curious, check it out.
They have those around their conferences, a couple days, go hang out. Yeah.
Cool. Now, Sardinisms, one of our regular viewers, asked us a funny question. He said, if Cast Co-op says Ains is the big brother, which we do on that show, and LawTube says Hogue is Team Dad, what does that make Travis and Dan in the seasoned gaming community? I think that's an important question. So I'm curious to hear what anyone listening to this, leave us a comment or put it in the chat right now, what Dan and Travis are in the seasoned gaming family. By the way, I'll point out that Mrs. Hoaglaw, otherwise known as co-counsel, says that Travis reminds her of her younger brother, and Dan is obviously the fun uncle.
Oh, Travis has so much smarter younger brother energy for me in his relationship. That is how I think of him. Constantly poking and prodding.
Well, I got this cold from constantly living in your shadow, Hogue.
Do you have a cold right now? Did you catch my allergies through the StreamYard and the internet?
No, I don't mean a physical cold. I mean, I got this that's why I'm so cold to
the
you.
Bitterness.
Yeah, the bitterness came from living in your shadow, and so now I'm a snarky ne'er-do-well.
I see.
How often do well? Ne'er.
Well, I love my little brother, and I love my interactions with Travis, but that's definitely the vibe I get. And they call me Team Dad over at LawTube because I'm the guy with the family friendly channel that says language and things like that.
Yeah. I vote Dan as the dog in the backyard that we rarely see.
Yeah.
Can that be that? You
Tap-
know, he's like,
pat Travis on the head, little brother.
Mhm.
oh, you patted me, little brother.
So, I think
like
Fun
a,
Uncle
like a
works
like
for...
a junkyard dog who like chews on metal things.
No,
That's what
I
can
think
do
Fun
that.
Uncle is right for Dan, right? You've got the family gathering, right? You're poking me. Ains is doing his thing. Dan is the one in that leather chair, which actually at his house, leaning back, trying to survive an Iowa Hawkeye football game. Like he's just like, yeah, it's great to have you guys here.
Yeah. Usually I'm passing like, booze and or some kind of liquor to the kids. Just take a sip. And then then they just leave me alone the rest of the time because they're, intoxicated. And then I just let somebody else deal with it. And now I'm back to my game.
I think I've been to that family gathering.
Yeah. That's when I pat them on the head and just like, yeah, go talk to your mom. Yeah. Go tell your mom what I did. Yeah, that's pretty much.
We got comments here. What a weird family. Dan is the drunk uncle. Travis, for sure, the little brother. Tal says Travis is the annoying little brother.
Probably.
And then RJH says that Travis is the one child that the parents didn't mess up, and he got all the attention and benefits that the parents couldn't afford when raising Hogue.
They call that the reverse reality of what happened in real life.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's good stuff.
All right. That is good stuff. Thank you for the comments, everyone. I appreciate you. All right. So let's jump over to what we're currently playing. And I want to start with a game that I can't play, which is Overwatch 2 launched this week. Big launch, a lot of visibility, a lot of players. So let me, if you guys don't mind, I think we're all aware that Overwatch 2 had some issues. Servers were messed up.
If it's a
You couldn't log
Blizzard
in.
launch with an online component, you can bet you're learning more about their error coding.
Yeah, correct. Yes. So here's my experience, and I promise none of this is made up.
Okay.
So I'll jump ahead 3 days to Friday because it's the first time I could actually log into the game. So I tried from Tuesday to Friday, could not log in ever. And I tried several times. Friday, I get in. And if you're not aware, if you played Overwatch 1, you're supposed to do an account merge, which basically takes your data from Overwatch 1, ties it to your Blizzard profile, and therefore unlocks the old characters and other things you unlocked in Overwatch 2.
Mm-hmm.
So when you click on that, it didn't do anything originally. So I had to log in about 3-4 different times to finally get that to kind of recognize that I was even trying. Then what it says is, okay, you're now set up for this profile to merge. It'll take about 1 minute, relaunch the game, and you'll be good to go. Basically, so shut the game down, restart. So I did that, come back, it still says I'm in queue. Did that 3 more times on Friday. Did it more yesterday. On Saturday, still nothing. So finally last night I try and I go in and it gives me a screenshot. It says your account is now in queue to merge. You are number 560,000 in the queue.
To merge
the account. Just for the account merge. So as of this morning, as we're talking on Sunday morning, it's been 5 days and I still have not been able to play Overwatch.
Why didn't they preload merging? That's a logistics function. What?
One of the worst designs of a transition from a community to one game to another that I have ever seen in my entire life.
You know what's funny about transitioning from one game to another, by the way? You go on your Xbox, because I was looking for Overwatch 2. First, they try to sell you the $40 without kind of leading you to understand that it's free to play. But if you go to the actual free to play like entry for Overwatch 2, it is clear that it's just a replacement of the Overwatch entry. Like there were reviews from the last 6 years for Overwatch. It's like, good Lord.
Yep.
Yeah, it's messy, man. And I know plenty of people obviously have gotten in, and I know the people that I know who are Overwatch fans are enjoying it. So that's good. But it's been, for me personally, it's been a disaster. I still haven't played a match. Not one.
Well, I've opted out, not for your reasons, Ains, and it might be opting in sooner rather than later, but I was not going to give my cell phone number to Activision. So that was my choice, and I said okay, and they rolled that back.
That already.
They rolled it the day of launch. They said, "Whoopsie, no cells."
They're only removing it for console players if you played the first one,
right? Which I would cover. It covers me.
Covers the bulk of people, I think.
I think. Yeah. So no, that was a conversation I had with a number of people online where I was like, you can give it away. I don't care. I'm not you. That's the choice I make. Activision has a tangential, if best, relationship to legal compliance. So no.
That's true. Yeah, it was strange. I've never seen anything like this account merge. And when it said this will just take 1 minute, relaunch the game, I was like, okay, this is dumb, but that's okay. Okay, fine. So relaunch the game. But now, like I said, having launched it several more times, now saying there's a queue for my data to merge. It's just, it's almost unbelievable. I'm like, who came up with this? You guys, this is bad.
I would actually be thinking, is like, do I actually have enough stuff in Overwatch to care?
I don't even. That's the funny thing. I'm one of those that's like, I like things to be orderly, and it's like, I don't want to play a match until this is done properly.
Yeah. So I hear you.
Yeah.
I mean, my experience with it was, oh, hey, Overwatch 2 is out. All right. And then that was it.
And then you played Hitman.
Then I played Hitman. That was my experience.
Well, I was interested in bouncing in and checking it out, but not while they were asking for cell phone numbers.
Yeah.
I have not paid attention to this one bit.
All I know is
I was
sorry,
hoping
Travis,
I was hoping to give them my cell phone number just because I'm lonely and I want somebody to talk to. But as soon as I saw you pick up
Bobby, is it you? Hey, Bobby.
Bobby, Kodak. Hey. Yeah, come on in. No, for me, I mean, first of all, I just want to say some of this, they get sympathy for me for some of it because some of their launch wasn't their fault. Obviously, they got DDoS attacked. But not only was the launch bad, like the entire messaging about what Overwatch 2 is and what it's supposed to be, and that, like, I feel like the messaging was terrible because I was also an Overwatch player back in the day. I didn't enjoy it, but I did play it, and I think
every day I turned it on and I cried.
They had a chance to win us back, and it didn't happen. And
not the start they wanted.
Makes me bummed out.
I think it will happen. I mean, I think Overwatch is a solid game. I think it should have been free to play for probably the last 5 years, and I think it's going to be a good move for them. It is a fun thing to bounce into. I don't know anything about how they rebalanced 5v5. I read your IGN article, Travis, not yours personally, but your parent mothership's article. I still don't understand. So I don't.
What was the article?
It was like a stub article. I mean, it was because there wasn't enough time to check everything else, but it was about 5v5. And I think that the subheading is like, Overwatch is a real sequel. And I'm like, ooh, that even sounds a little defensive, even in this context. It's like,
was it a wiki page or was it just like
no? It's an article. It's what do you call it? A review in progress, I think.
Oh, review in progress. Okay.
Yeah. So I think IGN got an early key. So there was like an early access review. Then it changed over to review in progress. I think it might even be the same address with like another sentence. And then presumably there's going to be a review. But that review in progress has a number. It just says it's not done. So, because I know I made the joke, I went on Twitter and said, well, I guess the 2 stands for the points it lost from the first review from IGN. But because it went
I think we do if I had to score it now, scores, but yeah, that's
I think IGN currently is rocking an 8 on it.
Oh, that seems high.
Well, IGN gave Overwatch 1 a 10, which I can only guess is not Travis's review.
No, it won Game of the Year that year, and I was the only guy sitting there like, I don't get it. I don't get how that's.
Well, the 6 of us that were in Battleborn didn't get it either. Okay. Yeah. Me and my 6 buddies in Battleborn were like, we've got a robot hobo, and we don't even know what you're talking about.
I see you've got one in the comments, Hogue. You guys are
Battleborn.
Yeah, you are.
We have conferences, we have support group meetings.
Yeah, you guys are Legion. You're the new Sega Saturn, Sega fan.
You leave Sega out of this.
Burning Rangers go, baby. Wow. Burning Rangers go.
Do you guys really think that there was a DDoS attack? Because it seems like every time Blizzard launches something and then there's problems, it's DDoS, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm pretty sure you're just throwing that out there. I feel like this is an excuse. I mean, I can't prove anything. I'm just saying just seems like it happens every single time.
I think a lot of players pinging your servers all at once meets the technical definition of DDoS attack. So I think that there's a lot of ability to go claim it one way or the other.
Yeah, it's just everybody just trying to get in. It's not really a DDoS. It's just people that are trying to access your game.
Wow.
So
and I thought I was suspicious.
I'm just saying it all goes. The actual technical definition of that is like, well, I mean, if you open the gates and everybody hammers your servers, in a certain manner of speaking, that's a DDoS attack. So if I'm
Really?
PR, if I'm the lawyers, what can I say? That is in my quiver if I needed it. So am I saying they weren't attacked by malicious actors? I am not. They very well could have been. Certainly Activision Blizzard opens itself to malicious attacks all the time.
Yep.
And so could that have just been people getting into Blizzard? Could it have been a malicious attack? Either way, I'm just saying I don't think Dan's wrong to say, that's weird.
Just curious. Throwing it out.
You don't have to believe anything Activision says. There's a reason I'm not giving Activision my cell phone when I'm giving it to other companies, right? So you don't have to believe anything they say.
I just hope that Overwatch 2 failed at launch so that Diablo 4 can thrive. Because if Diablo doesn't work at launch, I'm gonna shed a tear.
Ains.
I know. Trust me, I know the words that came out of my
Diablo
mouth.
4, just in your head, Diablo 4 launches 1 week after whatever date they set. Okay?
It's probably very true. Very true. And that's assuming they get the features right, which
just in your head, try to say, "Oh, that's the early access release date. It's gonna be busted. It's actually the 24th or whatever."
Well, I mean, to be fair, Diablo 3 launched, a year and a half after Diablo 3 launched, if you know what I mean.
But they actually they let you get in like in a week or two at Diablo 3. They just had to fix it as a game.
Diablo 3, man, what a disaster that was. Good Lord.
And they sure learned their lesson by selling 30 million copies since then or whatever.
Well, it became arguably the greatest ARPG of all time, one of them. But it took them a long time to get there, it's just God. I built a PC for that game, and I remember logging in that night when it launched, with some friends, and just
whatever that number is, 37.
The horror set in, over the next couple of days.
Which is ironic because Diablo 3's biggest criticism was it wasn't horrified enough.
It was error code 37, by the way.
Because they fixed the patches.
Yeah, they completely changed the game, right? It was a disaster. Anyway, so I obviously have not been playing Overwatch 2, but I figured we'd talk about it. No, not apparently not. But
sorry, Overwatch fans.
What else? What have you guys been playing that's good? What's hot for you guys right now?
I am playing a game called Trails from Zero. Does anybody recognize that?
Nope.
No.
Travis is trying. Bless you, Travis.
I have an image in my head.
So the Legend of Heroes is a Falcom series, which is very popular amongst JRPG fans, primarily for its PlayStation 4 era, give or take, set of games called Trails of Cold Steel, which is a fancy poetic way of talking about trains, if you didn't know that from that titling. And there was apparently a game released on a portable system of some kind that I can't remember called Trails from Zero, because it's just hard to title things, I guess, which is intended to indicate that it's a prequel kind of to that. But it was only released on the major current generation systems like 7 or 10 days ago on the Switch and the PlayStation 5, or I think it's actually a PlayStation 4 game that I'm playing on my 5. It's basically everything I want out of a JRPG. I love Falcom, very colorful, great music, interesting battle systems, all taking place in one city. Love it to death. But it's going to be, your mileage may vary as to whether you like that kind of stuff. I basically play everything from Falcom.
Nice.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah. As you referenced the other one, it rang a bell.
Cold Steel.
Yes, I've never played them.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the next one. It is equally poetic and silly and unintelligible to folks that don't know the series, but they're moving on from Cold Steel to the next weird phrase for this current generation. And I think it comes out next year, I want to say, but I don't even remember what it is. These are very long, very detailed JRPGs that are very focused on world building and character, much more so than like Square Enix, even when they're really doing the RPG thing. So it kind of harkens back to a lot of text, a lot of character development, a lot of stuff that would make Ains fall asleep. But I love it.
Devil May Cry combat system?
Very much no. No, as a matter of fact, it's one of those intricate kind of mechanical clock kind of combat systems. It actually goes across the whole series in various kind of variations, but it has different bits of jewels that you have to put into different bits of machines, and they have different versions of those machines for each of the characters, so you're kind of constantly doing like math and optimization and that kind of crunchiness that I like from my JRPG systems.
Y'all really hate Devil May Cry combat, apparently.
No, I love Devil May Cry combat. It should stay in Devil May Cry.
And I just know that Hogue has spoken out against it in Final Fantasy
Yeah,
16, which is why I bring it up.
He's jabbing me on Final Fantasy 16. Look, it's great because I will play. I'm no longer like looking forward to that game at all, which makes its release date come that much quicker, and then we'll see if I hate it or not when it comes out.
Yeah, I hope.
Did you hate 15?
I do not hate 15. 15 is an odd duck that I think winds up playing more than the sum of its parts, where you can see each of the parts is deficient in some way. But I sit back, I listen to Nier Automata music while I drive my car to the next monster fight, and it's like, this is pretty chill.
I dug that game.
Sardanism asks Azure Sky. I think it is Azure Sky. It was Trails in the Sky. Then it was Trails of Cold Steel. This one is Trails from Zero. And I want to say it's Legend of Heroes something Azure Sky.
Wow.
Or it might be somebody else says Trails into Darkness. Both of these sound equally ridiculous, and any of them could be the correct title. It's a fantastic series that is just ridiculously named, in my opinion.
You got to be careful with those Trails of titles.
Oh, yeah?
Dangerous there.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Go ahead, Travis.
I am playing A Plague Tale Requiem. I guess.
Yes.
Am I still?
Oh, you
playing
can
it?
say that. Sweet.
I can say it. Yeah.
Nice.
I can't
I
tell
don't
you
know.
anything about it. I can just say I beat it last night, and I'm going to write my review
Cool.
today.
Sometimes I think
Cool.
those NDAs say that you're no longer allowed to say your name. I don't know.
Yeah, some of them do say that, which is good for me.
They do. They really do. They get ridiculous, some of them, but yeah.
Yeah, not this one. This one is basically just like
Good.
yeah.
Cool.
And you're allowed to say nothing, I assume, about your overall impressions right this second.
Correct.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I've got a gag order.
The way it works.
It's only, I mean, it's out as we record this. It's out in a week and a half, less than a week and a half. So
Okay.
it's not long now.
I will be able to talk about it the day before it comes out.
Actually, what am I talking about? It's not even a week. It's out on the 14th. So it's out in 5 days.
5 days.
Oh, nice.
Right in the
Wow,
middle of
you moved quick.
October.
Or is it the 18th? Man, I'm messing up my dates.
I think I have one other week because I think I got 2 weeks in advance. So I
it's
think it
the
must be
Tuesday
coming up
after. It's the 18th. Yeah.
the 18th. Okay, yeah. So I can talk about it on Monday the 17th, which means for the next couple episodes, I'm not going to be able to talk about it. And then by the time I am able to talk about it on the week of the 22nd or whatever, I'm not going to remember what the game was like because it'll be a week to go, which is classic. I'm doing that. Doing some. I can't talk about that either. Yeah, I'm playing games. They're fun.
Playing
I'm
games.
doing stuff.
Wow.
It's great.
I want you to go
Yeah.
down the list in your head and be like, nope, can't, no.
I almost did. Yeah, I'm excited to tell you guys about other things. I will
say this, Travis, by the way, since I commented on it last week, I have gotten more into Grounded.
Nice.
And it as you start to kind of spiral through the kind of like the upgrade list and the base building list and things like that, it does wind up having a bit of a I just have to get like 3 more grubs and I'll do this thing. It's like, well, but okay, you do that and it's like 40 minutes, and then you're like, well, all right, well now I need to go get those smoothie ingredients. Okay, wow, okay, we'll just do that. That's real quick too. It's 40 minutes. It's like sooner or later it's bedtime, and you're like, damn, Grounded. Come on.
Yeah, dude. I'm telling you, it's got this like RPG like hook. It's so good. I'm actually really hoping I can get through the review of Plague Tale today, like writing it, so that I can play more Grounded. It's still been in the back of my head and the back of my fiance's head. We're both just like, we need to get back to that game. So,
I did
I
play
thought
a bunch of Grounded.
Since we talked last week, I've talked to a bunch of other people who are just loving it. So it seems to be just one of those kind of, everyone knew it was coming because it's been out for 2 years in pre-access, but it seems like very few people expected it to be this grand of a game on release. I think
It is bigger than I thought.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
So anyway, I'm playing a lot of games that I can't talk about, but I'm excited to talk about them because
He's pumped. He's got Gotham Knights already rocking. He's played 40 hours. He's real excited.
Right.
Yeah. Living La Vida Loca.
I got to tell you this, Travis, because I saw this. IGN's had the first look for Gotham Knights. You know this, right?
Yep.
And I have these rules in my head when I get previews of things, right? And it's like, well, if the movie people that are given the Disney access to the premiere 2 weeks early and they're influencer types, and they say, and they can only get up to like, it was really pretty, I say, gotcha. IGN having the full first look and Mitch coming out with like, it could be okay in review form is like, All right.
That's a pretty good instinct, Hogue. I will let you guys in on a little bit of IGN style guide here, which is that when we're previewing a game, because the game is unfinished and it's not a review copy, part of our style is that we don't say anything explicitly, definitively negative about the game because it's a work in progress and it could be fixed and it's just too early to judge. And so sometimes when you're doing a preview, you're basically, the way that I think of it, I don't know if other editors think of it. When I think of a preview, I think of focus on one thing about your preview, the best thing, the thing that you like the most, the thing that was the biggest differentiator, and just talk about that and like make that the thing. And so if somebody's just talking about how good the game looks, that to me says that there wasn't a lot else to focus on. And so that's a pretty good kind of takeaway. I think a pretty good strategy of looking at previews. But it is interesting because you want to highlight a game, you don't want to dunk on it before it's finished. People are trusting you. Yeah, people are also trusting you with showing you their game when it's early, and you don't want to just be like, this is gonna suck, and then
no.
But sometimes you play a game and you're like,
it's the most positive version of like, this is starting to feel like a 6, but who knows?
Yeah. I appreciate that comes through, though. That actually makes me happy because I kind of sometimes you see people in comments that are like, wasn't the preview all sunshine and rainbows? Like, why is this review so low? And I'm just like, yeah, they're different things. I don't know what you want.
I really like it. Mitch and Travis are my favorite writers at IGN. And it's true though. This isn't me just gilding your lily, man. And Mitch is just very funny. He's like, well, he thinks Gotham is cool. He thinks the city is cool. I highly recommend checking it out. It's a good IGN preview. But then he's like, the combat guys.
We could tell that from the.
No, you can. You absolutely can from the video. Yeah. But it's like he's played it for 3 hours, and he's like, well. And then he gives all this benefit of the doubt. He's like, well, it really seems to be about building your character, and the way this preview works is there were 4 bounce points. So I didn't get to feel that at all. And maybe it feels better if I get some of that. Like he's doing like this. And it's like, yeah, okay, maybe.
Well, I think IGN too, like to Travis's point, right? Like IGN being the biggest kind of games media company in the world, there's a responsibility there, right? Like you have to be very careful with what you say, because, a few wrong words and you can turn off, probably many, many sales, which is kind of crazy to think about, really, from a responsibility standpoint. That's kind of tough.
Yeah. Well, I only buy what Travis recommends is awful. I mean, like that's really all. That's my baseline. That's a good strategy. The same way.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see your playthrough of Crossfire X. That game was made for you, bro.
Yes, I heard Hogue's going to stream it.
I would love to see Hogue play that game. Just the because he's played. I know you're not a shooter guy, Hogue, but I assume you've only really played the top shooters that have broken through the barrier of I probably wouldn't play you. And so I would love to see you play just like a really, really aggressively bad shooter. What's the worst shooter you played?
The worst one?
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, I feel like for the most part, I'm not playing multiplayer shooters.
Unless they break through the noise, and because I'm assuming for you, shooters have to be like above a threshold of goodness before you'll even consider them, since they're not your thing. Whereas JRPGs have a lower barrier of entry because you're just looking for JRPGs to play, right?
Well, I live with bad shooting mechanics on games that I think have strong stories or narratives. Like I think of one, cult classic type game like Singularity, right? And Singularity, I think, was garbage as a shooter. But I really enjoyed its world. So I mean, like that's when you asked me that question, I was like, the one that popped in my head is like Singularity kind of sucked. And it's like those are the kinds of games. But am I playing things like that are international mobile game ports that are not fun? No.
Yeah, no Nerf Legends in your future.
By the way, Tao is posting in the chat. So has Hogue progressed anymore in Xenoblade 3?
I honestly, I've stopped asking him that because I feel like if he has an update, he will volunteer.
He will let us know.
At this point.
Yeah.
My current goal is to get to whatever anybody said about Chapter 5 by the end of the calendar year. So I'm still in the what I believe are the late phases of Chapter 4.
Okay. All right. Got that, chat?
That's so early in that game, Hogue. That is so early.
Keep Hogue on it. By our December.
Do you know my clock reads?
What?
It's 60 hours that I've played Xenoblade. It might be so early in the game, but it's like
Chapter 4. Wow.
I don't know what to tell you.
So by our Christmas episode, whatever that looks like, or New Year's episode, we need a Hogue update. If
My
we've
hope
gotten
is to
the
get
end
to
of Chapter
whatever. I
5.
mean, whatever that people seem to think there's some kind of twist or revelation at that point, and so I'm going to try to
There
get to
is.
that by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's a great part
Okay.
of the game, and then it just gets worse after that. It peaks. Honestly, Hogue the Hogue is in the best part of the game still. I'm very interested. You know what's funny about this? This was 3 weeks of my life, and it felt like forever, and now it feels so distant, and it's just crazy to see people going through at that pace. And
Well, I got to tell you, psychologically, I don't know that sitting next to you every week with you telling me like, well, once you cross this threshold, it sucks, is like super incentivizing.
Too funny.
it doesn't suck. It doesn't
Like
suck
I
at
enjoy
any
the
point.
game, and it's like, well, I don't want to stop enjoying the game, so maybe we just kind of camp out here. We just
Yeah.
picnic in this area that Travis says is the best part of the game. Whatever.
Hey,
Yeah.
the game never sucks. I'll never go that far. I gave it an 8 after all, but yeah, it's
What's funny is I got like the season pass and things like that, which is always stupid for the Monolith games. But they have like the commercial for the new one, and they're introducing like a new character, and there, I swear to God, are 14 menus that I don't recognize. It's
Wow.
like, how can that be? What is that
Yep.
a menu of? I've played the game for 60 hours.
Yep. You haven't even finished half of the tutorials, Hogue. Yeah, it's so funny. The friend I've been telling you guys about who's also was playing through it and was sort of on the same path as you, Hogue. He actually continued on that path and finished the game. And came up harsher on it than me because he gets more annoyed at anime, JRPG tropes than I do. Which Hogue, I think you're going to
I'm
be higher
unlikely to
on
get
it.
annoyed by those at all.
Yeah, I don't think you will. You have a very high tolerance for irritating JRPG mechanics.
I'm
It doesn't
looking
make
forward
them
to them
good.
stop-
It just means that you have a
I'm
tolerance.
looking forward to them stopping Nietzschean nihilism with the power of friendship and maybe Care Bear stairs. I'm all in.
Great.
That's what
Well,
I've
we'll
been
look
waiting for
forward to that.
years. Let me know when we get there.
I'm just telling Ains. I know
I've
you
been
haven't
waiting
played
for
this
it for
one.
years, Ains. You could just pick up any JRPG. That's the plot.
No,
you know? You
no.
don't
I
have to
said
wait.
when we get to the end of that.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
When it changes.
Well, I'm just
Right.
Xenoblade. I can tell you now, wherever I am in the plot line, it's like, oh, we are gonna kill God or answer existentialism with the power of our humanity and love. Like we're already there.
For sure. Pretty telegraphed. Yeah.
No, I'm good. Dan, you been playing anything good or just you living in
Living
Old
in my
game world.
assassination world? No,
Yeah.
it's actually yeah. It's mostly old stuff. I want to take a second here just to talk to IO Interactive because I know they're listening.
Sure.
Yeah, you guys have a content problem. Not one person that I know in the Hitman community, I know 4 of them, has asked for the banana as a permanent piece of inventory. It's worthless. It's terrible.
context
there's
may
already-
be important here, Dan, because I have no idea what
Yes.
you're talking about.
So IO Interactive released their October
Okay.
roadmap. They do this every month. It shows you your 2 elusive targets, sometimes 3. It's only 2 this month. Some other stuff that you can unlock, usually a suit or a weapon or something like that. So the big one, the one that they're using to promote it is the banana. The banana is fine. If you find it and you put it on the ground and somebody slips on it, it doesn't really do anything because they just kind of stand back up and like, ow, my butt or something, because they fall down. You can knock somebody out with a banana if you so choose. I'm assuming it's not ripe. But then they added a couple suits. Anyway, this is their big thing. They're kind of promoting the banana on their website.
Just this
It's
month,
their-
though, right?
Yeah, it's just this month. Just this
Yeah,
month.
that's fine.
It's
Banana month.
Yeah, banana month. It makes sense, being October, I guess. I'm not sure where they came up with that correlation, but maybe.
So
they
let me ask
also
this. Oh,
yeah.
sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, the other things that they're releasing are basically there's an Agent 17 suit from Hitman Silent Assassin or Hitman 2 Silent Assassin, which is cool, but it looks exactly like everything else except an orange tie and sunglasses. And then they released, this is the best part, I think it's a Sandman suit, which they had last year, and you had like a jack-o'-lantern head, right, with it. Totally took that off there. You don't get the jack-o'-lantern head, which is what a lot of people were asking for, but instead we get a banana. and 2 of the easiest elusive targets in the world. I'm not sure what they're doing, but it's starting to kind of grind on me a little bit, and I might not be playing Hitman 3 as much.
So what I was
Well,
going to
the
ask
most-
is, Hitman 3 came out in 2020.
Yeah.
So
Right
at
after,
what?
right.
So like, what is your expectation for continued content for that game? It's a
I feel
it's a
like they can
single
throw a little bit-
player.
No, okay, so in January they're releasing the freelancer mode, which is going to be kind of like a roguelike.
Yes,
You get your own place, your own hideout and everything. You collect stuff, and you take certain items with you on the missions. If you lose said items or you die, you don't get those back. You have to earn them back a different way, I guess. So and that sounds cool. It's gonna be free to everybody in January. If they weren't doing that, I would say maybe it's not like there's 160 plus items in Hitman. I would say 140 of them are completely useless, or some kind of duplicate of the same thing. Like you've got earbuds, right, that can be used as the garrote, right, and they've got 4 different colors. It's just stuff that keeps repeating, and I feel like they could do a little bit more. And I'm not sure, with the silent or with the elusive targets, they haven't really had a new one for a long time, and they just kind of keep reshuffling the old ones, and they keep reshuffling. Like this Barbara Keating is the new one that just came out, and she's been in there like 4 or 5 different times since the game is launched for their monthly.
Summary, Banana bad, Muffin good, and
Muffin good.
Hitman have problem with live service game like every other live service game.
Yes.
Cool.
Oh, they
Content
also
delivery.
they said the Molotov cocktail that they just added with this new island, actually, which was just a couple months ago. They added this Molotov cocktail. You could throw it like at a window, and if somebody's standing on the other side of the window, it would catch them on fire, and it would be an accident, right? And so, in Hitman, the accident kills are what you want to do. You're trying to get the silent assassin that nobody knows you. Well, they said, well, that was ridiculous. It was a little bit far-fetched that you could light somebody on fire with a Molotov. However, right after that, in the same breath, you can kill somebody with a banana. So, you kind of have to balance it out a little bit. I understand. This is more of like a bigger issue I have with video games where they nerf single player stuff, and it drives me crazy. Horizon did that, Forbidden West, and I it just drives me nuts. I don't understand the logic behind it when there's really no.
I'm now
competitiveness.
convinced we are so in the weeds on Hitman because of Dan. I don't think this show can contain this level of Hitman knowledge, and there's no way and a single viewer of the show is relating to this content at all. Therefore, I think Dan needs a weekly Hitman podcast. I mean, this has got the Last Word Destiny level of like complaining that I just cannot relate to because I don't play Hitman.
Dan, you've got to find a new game. You have to find a new game.
I only played it a little bit. I unlocked basically the suit.
No. I don't want to hear more about it. You just got to find a new game.
I'm playing. You know what I'm playing right now? I'm going back and I'm playing the Judgment and Yakuza games. So I'm going back and playing all those. I love those games too. There's just nothing out right now that really. Plague Tale's coming out here.
There's nothing out.
There's nothing out. Listen, you guys can
play. There are a lot of games. My brother in Christ, allow me to show you the PlayStation Online store.
There's like 4,000 games released last week.
There are many games.
To play.
There's
nothing.
Steam, itch.io, you could buy 6,000 games for $1 or something. There's games. There's games
ridiculous.
Out there.
Listen, I am a AAA gamer at heart. This is what I want to play. I want to play these big budget games. There are not a lot of those games. Listen, all these games that you guys keep talking about, these little indie games that look like they were made in like 1982. Yeah, go ahead. They were made in 1982. It's the same graphics back then. That doesn't impress me. And you've got to listen. I'm totally superficial here. All right. So I need to see it. It's like, oh man, that looks really good. I'll give it a shot just because it looks good. All right. It's not like you go out on a date or something and you're like, oh, her personality is fantastic. That's not what attracts you initially to a game. It just doesn't. And you can sit there and tell me it does. It doesn't. You want that initial something, right? And no games do that because they all look like they're from like the early 90s with these little, side-scrolling 8-bit graphics. I don't care about that garbage. I played that enough when I was 20 or 15 or 10. I've done my time, man. Now, give me
Let the record
something
reflect
that
that IO Interactive is an independent developer.
Well, it's fine, but it's a big game. It's a solid game. Developers, I don't give a crap what they are. They can, identify as an independent. That's fine. Doesn't matter. If you give me a meaty game with a lot of content, then great. That's what I want. That's not asking much. Plague Tale's coming though, so that's good. God of War's on its way. I just can't stand indie games, guys. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Just gonna throw it out there. It's not fun. I played this game 15 times. I feel like, man.
You've made Travis back up away from the mic. That's where we've gotten here.
Just so we're clear, Dan, I want this locked in.
Yeah.
Do you think that indie games are the games that are repetitive and that you never see anything new in?
Oh no, absolutely not.
Okay, you said you played them 15 times already.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't. Here's the thing, Pogue. It's all about, for me, starting off. It's like, okay, I want to see something that looks good, like graphic wise. I want something that looks cool. Like
you're looking for something a little sexed up.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm a simple person.
Sure.
Right. I'm not out here trying to oh, damn, this game that looks like it was made in 1992. Well, it's like revolutionary.
Upgraded to the 90s.
Right. 90s, 80s, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not Mario level stuff.
I can show you 82. I mean, we're looking at like Zork.
King's Quest.
Look at something like Octopath Traveler, which I loved. I did enjoy that game. Right. But there comes a point where I'm just like, okay, I don't need to play 2 because I feel like it's not going to be much different.
2 looks awesome.
Right? Maybe, I don't know. It was good. There's some stuff.
But Dan,
it's not exclusive.
What you're saying,
Dan, you play Hitman 3
over and over. Yeah.
It looks the same as 2.
As a matter of fact, 3 looks so much like 2 and 1 that they actually put 2 and 1 into 3.
Yeah,
correct.
Okay. Again, comfort food. Okay,
I have no problem with this. Right. I just want to make sure we got your position pinned down, because what I heard for a moment there was that indie games are too repetitive and boring, and I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute!"
They're just all. I feel like they're all very
play Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I play Assassin's Creed. They're all the same.
You feel like all indie games are very similar, but like you could play.
No.
You could play Inscription. I mean, you could play Immortality.
That's not to say that not all indie games are terrible. I mean, I loved. Again, I think what was it?
Pathless?
Pathless, yeah.
Pathless is fun.
Amazing indie game. Kina, it was right there on that. It wasn't like the.
Kina's trying very hard not to be an indie game, so I'm not sure.
Right, it was right. It's exactly like it's got that. You're right on that cusp, right? Of like, hey, this looks amazing. It's pretty basic. And that's fine. I just don't need these. It's mostly
I think what you're saying,
side-scrolling JRPGs.
I want to get to the bottom of this because I feel like there are a lot of gamers like you, which upsets me. But that's okay. I want to get to the bottom of this. What you're saying is that you need to feel like you're playing a premium experience, and therefore you want to play AAA games because you feel like those are represent the best that gaming has to offer, and you don't have time for second place or third place games. You want to play just the headlines, just the hits. You're here on the top 40. That's what you're looking for, right?
Right.
Top
I don't need
station.
the B-sides of some of these things. Yeah, for sure.
The problem with your argument is that a lot of the hits are indie games now, and really one's AAA budget has nothing to do with whether the game is good or not. And so my recommendation to you would be, rather than of course it's subjective, but it is generally true that the games with the biggest budgets do not correlate to that being the best game, right? And so if you're just looking to play the hits, my recommendation to you would be to stop thinking about games as AAA or AA or single A or indie, and think of them as look at their Metacritic scores. What were the top Metacritic scores this month? And see if those games appeal to you. And then you'll play just the hits, just the top games. But my recommendation would be because there are games like Octopath, especially, that you say that game looks old, but it's one that broke through the noise, my recommendation would be just look at aggregated review scores and do it that way.
Here's the thing,
and then
with
you'll probably
Octopath.
find a couple games that you thought you would hate that you actually love.
It's one of those games that it kind of gives you that nostalgia vibe, right? It's kind of one of those it kind of harkens back to like the old JRPG kind of with they're kind of and that's fine every once in a while. All right.
Yeah, and
that's
you mentioned that you
and you get that fix, and it's not like I'm saying that they all suck. I'm just saying not my style, really. You know what? And they might be amazing games, but if I look at something that says there's too many reviews and review sites that fall into this, everybody loves this game, we have to love this game, so we're gonna continue, we're just gonna, it's just like a weird, I don't know, man, like what's the word I'm trying to look for? I don't really care for Metacritic and or OpenCritic either, so I'm just looking for those kind of, like I said, kind of big budget produce. Like Plague Tale looks amazing. An indie game, really. I mean, it's from an indie studio.
I mean, it is published, but I would describe it as AA. I wouldn't say it's a AAA game.
Okay, well, what's so funny with Plague's Tale is, right, if I'm watching those trailers, the one concern I have is that it looks real samey to Plague's Tale 1.
Oh, for sure it does.
So
I'm not going to argue that one. That does.
Travis is no longer allowed to speak on this now that I've mentioned anything substantive about the game.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, that would be my concern. So if you're worried about sameness, like, I think there's a lot more sameness in AAA, AA, those budgets. We've talked about this ad nauseum. But like indie games, the reason you get weird crap in indie land is because 3 guys can say, I want to play this. And that can be great. It could also suck. It makes discoverability very hard, but there's so much good stuff there.
Oh, and that's totally subjective. I think you could find diamonds in the rough. Again, the Pathless. I never would have played that game if it weren't for the fact that there really wasn't much out at launch on the Series X and PS5 when it came out. I was just trying to find something to play. I was just like, well, I'll throw, $30-$40 at this game, see what it's like. And it turns out, sometimes you get surprised for sure. But at this point, the older I get, the less time I have. So I think I just rather play stuff either that I'm comfortable with. My skills are also down the tubes. I mean, I could never play, and hang with you guys in like a multiplayer game or something like that, or anything, that's got that soul.
I'm sure you can hang with me.
Well, I don't know. It's pretty bad. So it kind of eliminates an entire section of gaming for me, right off the bat in anything multiplayer / co-op. It's just something that I just don't do. So, now I'm down to anything single player. Well, now, it's just, I want to say my tastes have become more refined, but that would be
refined would be the wrong word, I think.
Yeah, I think.
Limited maybe a better word.
Like, look at this panel.
I want that.
This panel is almost an evolution. It's like me, and then stage 2 is Ains, and then stage 3 is Hogue, and then the final destination is Dan. In terms of like the narrowing of the types of games you like to play, how optimistic versus pessimistic you are about the industry.
I play everything.
No, I think that's what's funny about this conversation is I think generally speaking, Hogue plays a lot of games that I won't play, right? I play games that Hogue won't play. There's a interesting mix of what the 4 of us play, and I think Dan is the one that is most, to Travis's point, just most narrowed down. So there's very few experiences that Dan jumps into.
The biggest part of the market. I think it makes Travis cry, but I think Dan is the damn market.
That's
exactly my point.
Dan is
I
the
think he
average
represents.
Consumer. That's why he's good on the show, because it's like he says something, and I'm like, that's exactly how people are thinking of it. That's why that's happening. And but to me in my brain, I'm like, stop thinking that way, please, everyone.
Yeah, there's a reason that Call of Duty or Madden are the best-selling games every year. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what they are, or in FIFA for that matter. But it's funny because someone in the chat here said, hold on, we got a lot of comments.
I
think
you're ever wondering why your AA game didn't get a sequel, your Condemned 3s or whatever, Dan and his ilk are the reason. The Dans of the world. Just look to them.
You're not wrong,
Newspin says, I'm a graphics snob too. My dream game is Stardew with good graphics. I didn't spend thousands on a PC for nothing.
Stardew would lose almost all of its audience if it changed its graphics to modern styling.
I also disagree with the idea that retro is bad graphics. Like, that's not even true. You can be incredibly detailed.
Adore how Stardew looks specifically. Now, interestingly, They will sound like Dan when they're judging other pixel games or other farming pixel games. They're like, that doesn't look as good as Stardew.
That's because pixels can look good and pixels can look bad. Some pixel games
matter.
Yeah, some pixel games have like really bad textures and they're like not detailed in their animations and it just looks bland. And some have like really intricate pixel animations and you're like, wow, I barely notice the style because it's so well done. So I disagree.
Super funny because we should have my girls on the show or something at some point because they'd be like, well, what we have is we have Stardew graphics. Sure. We have Shovel Knight. We have Littlewood. And then these are like genres of graphics that we talk about in this context. So yeah, it's they play a lot of pixel games, but they could get judgy. It's like that doesn't.
Hogue family review site incoming. They're gonna just pump out reviews from the Hogue household.
So Dan, I think RJH has a fair question because that's what I was trying to nail down, and I think Travis's point is valid too. If you say that your tastes are very narrow, you don't have a lot of time, wouldn't that mean that sites like OpenCritic and Metacritic would be better because they quickly give you a high level? You may not always agree with it, but a high level kind of overview of where a game stands in terms of quality.
Yeah. No. And also, like the not liking OpenCritic and Metacritic, you're basically just saying like, I don't trust reviewers even as a sum of their parts, even as like a whole, right? Because you can also just find reviewers that you trust, or like
I do. I have reviewers that I trust, and that's who I go to.
No, I'm going to back Dan on this. Aggregators suck because you can't aggregate subjective viewpoints like they suggest that you can or should.
100%.
Go read reviews, folks. Why not?
I mean, you should 100% read reviews, but I'm saying those sites give you if you don't have time to read reviews, they give you a snapshot of what reviewers think.
They don't though, because those percentages don't actually match up because nobody's actually on the same scale. And the scales vary across reviewers in such subjective ways that, as I've talked about in the past, folks like Tom Chick will give something 1 star that he liked, but he didn't think it worked for whatever reason. And we could talk about that. That'll go down as a 2. That'll change the percentages. And now it looks like a 73 instead of a 79. Like you got to break down what people are saying about a game, and aggregators are making everybody stupider about everything.
Agreed, 100%. But if you're looking for a stupid level overview, which I would argue those are for, and people like Dan probably want, they are useful because a 73 versus a 79 doesn't really matter to somebody who's looking for a top level view. And so that's why I think, again, Hogue, I will never argue you shouldn't read reviews and that every outlet has its own system and all that stuff. Self-defeating 100%. I'm saying I agree with you 1,000%. I am trying to address the Dan market here, right? And the Dan market is never going to read a Travis review. I guarantee you, Dan has never read one of my reviews.
Dan, have you ever read a Travis review?
I have read pretty much everything since you've been on the show, really.
What?
But yeah, before that.
From beginning to end?
How do you think you get those 4 clicks, buddy?
Have you not read our DMs where I'm like, hey, great review, Travis? That's
all right. I stand corrected.
He assumed you were just lying like he does when he says we did something good.
That's the thing. You're right, Hogue. I mean, that's the problem. I think that site is good for getting in there and then having basically a starting point to see many different reviews, and that's great. But using
that's all it should be used for.
Right. Yeah. The number there shouldn't even be there. I think it should just be, here's a bunch of reviews, go check some out. That's fine.
If it were up to me, it wouldn't be a score. It would be a bunch of reviews, and then it would say like overall recommended or overall not recommended. It would have like a general kind of vibe without assigning a score. I think that'd be better.
Yeah.
Mixed. You could say mixed, you know what I mean? But putting like
I only ever say mixed. I'm mixed on everything.
That's what OpenCritic tried to do. They have like those 5 buckets only, right? Where
but theirs are weird because to them a 70 is a mixed review. Is like and at IGN a 70 is good. It's a recommendation.
Yeah, but the reviewer X a 70 might be a mixed, and to an IGN reviewer 70 might be good, and another guy 70 might be terrible. That's why aggregators don't work at a fundamental level. Now, Metacritic and OpenCritic are better than Rotten Tomatoes, which nobody seems to understand is just an up-down vote on whether or not I regretted the time I spent watching a movie. And that really throws people. It's 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yes, to a man, they all said it was a 3. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. That's why you get that weird disparity. Like Rotten Tomatoes like 99%. IMDb's rating is like a 6.5. You're like,
Right.
how did
'Cause
that add up?
most people exited and said that popcorn was good, and I guess I didn't hate it. 99.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right. Well, that was something.
You're welcome.
Well, I could talk about reviewing all day. Travis
Oh, I
has
could
some
I.
thoughts as well.
So can we? We did it for 2.5 hours, and we could have kept going. So yeah,
We could have.
We-
Yeah, we had to stop ourselves.
Yeah. So anyway, I want before we end this segment, an hour in, I want to give a quick shout out to Proteus, which is a game that is currently out by a small studio called, I think, Bounding Box, if I recall
I
correctly.
believe
Bounding
it's in
Box
game
software.
preview.
It is. It's on Game Pass as well.
Right, I just meant it's in early access for those that care about such things.
Yes, and it is a hardcore kind of homage to Doom, the old school Doom. Corridor shooter. Played the first 2 levels last night. Quite fun. It gives you that really old kind of just Carnage vibe. So if you like that sort of thing, or you grew up with Doom and Wolfensteins of the world and like those, check it out. It's cool. So, all right, boys. Why don't we move over? Let me get these super chats because they've been sitting for a while now. And then we'll jump over to the CD Projekt Red roadmap for Witcher and Cyberpunk. Dan, hit us up.
All right, Don Liner with the $5 super chat. First super chat of the day. Haven't had a chance to watch last week's episode yet, but I want to pop in, say hi, show support. Have a great show. Thank you, Don.
Awesome,
We appreciate
Don.
You got to watch last week's. You don't want spoilers.
Yeah.
Don, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you.
And Google Man 81 with the €5 super sticker.
Yes,
I guess does it show up on the actual YouTube?
it does.
They do.
Okay,
It'll,
yeah,
it'll be like a pair
never have that
lifting
up.
weights or
I
yeah.
should though.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
lifting weights.
That's pretty much what it
That
is. Yeah,
that is one of
Yeah.
them. I get the pair. I get the pair completing runs and lifting weights a lot. I love that pair. It's
Are you
adorable.
sure
It
it's
is
a pear
pear
or is it an
lifting weights.
avocado? Is it an
I don't-
avocado?
I'm not a San Franciscan.
Oh, that's a
It's
pear.
some-
It's a pear.
Oh, it is a pear. You're right. That is a pear. Look at that.
Yeah, we figured it out.
All right.
Google man, thank
Wait,
you very much,
wait.
man. Appreciate you.
Now I'm seeing avocado. The more I look at it,
Is it
It's because
scooped?
you're in San Francisco.
Wait,
It's a
what
pear.
color is the
Trust me.
dress, Travis?
he's green, but it's the stem that makes me think that it's a pear because you always see the stem and the leaves on top of the pear, but avocados they always cut that stuff off.
Excellent.
Sure,
But like-
and it's not a scooped pear, so I know it's tricky to figure out.
I mean, aren't all avocados scooped technically? You have to take out the core.
you just pick out the pit.
Don't you take out the pit in the pear as well? Yeah, they have a pit.
I'm not a regular pear eater. My pears lift weights. I've been
Haynes,
outed.
We're just trying to give this guy's €5 worth. We can't. Just
He
skip
is
over
Google
his
Man
pear.
81. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for the super
Thank you,
sticker.
Google Man.
And this is the kind of service we provide here on.
I
the
didn't
Season Gaming
plan on
Bitcast.
drinking today, but you guys are getting me there.
We are
All
in a good mood. Don't
I know. Moving over to Eric. Thank you, Google man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, Eric, $10 super chat. Great show. Thank you, sir. We appreciate
Best
it.
comment of the day.
Yep.
Thank you,
Love it.
Eric. Yes, and we do have one more. Bear with me here, Eric. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate it. And another
Being
Eric.
Positive. All right, another Eric. The $6.99 Canadian afternoon gentleman. I will personally mail a bag of ketchup chips to Dan for every indie game he completes. Go Jets.
That's not a
That's
bad
very
offer,
awesome.
Dan.
I've never had ketchup
are
chips.
pretty
Ketchup
rad.
chips are good from Canada. They're good.
Does a Playtale count? Because
Terrible.
that's going to be the only one. I've only bought like 3 games this year, which is insane. That's
I don't
insane.
think Plague Tale counts from either because it
Really?
has a publisher and I would describe as being fairly big budget AA game. So
Yeah,
I don't think
it's-
it meets any of the
yeah.
criteria.
Well, I tried.
Just finish
That
Cyberpunk and go get those ketchup chips, bud.
But, yeah. Oh man.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate the super chats.
That
And
was my
let's-
segue, Ains.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's a good
yeah. I
segue.
know I screwed it up. I was good last week. I can't get back-to-back weeks on good segues. I can't do it.
The master of blends has fallen,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I gave you 1 week. That's all you
That was
get.
my segue. I know what the next topic is.
I know. It's cool. It's like you're looking at the sheet. It's awesome.
Some days I look at it.
All right, we're going to talk about so CD Projekt Red came out this
Oh,
week, and they gave a full roadmap of their development, along with what they're doing with the Witcher IP, what they're doing with Cyberpunk IP. They're working on a new IP and they have potentially a major change in leadership as well. So let's start with The Witcher. So they're doing a lot with The Witcher as an IP. So we'll run through these details, and then you guys can tell me what you think here. So first things first, people asked about the new gen update, the Series X PS5 update for Witcher 3. That's still coming before the end of the year. They did confirm that. So from there, they have a project codenamed Sirius, which is a new game developed by the Molasses Flood. If you're not familiar with that development studio, they made The Flame in the Flood and Drake Hollow. It is a single-player game that has campaign, quest, story, etc., but it's going to have a multiplayer element of some form. Now, remember, all of the things they talked about here were code names and kind of pre-production stuff. So everything I'm reading to you is the detail they gave. There's not a lot of detail on exactly.
No, that Molasses Flood is now owned by them, but they use it as a separate subsidiary.
Correct.
It's essentially CDPR Boston.
Good.
Got it.
Good. Okay. Then the big thing, I'd say the biggest thing they announced is that they are beginning work on a new Witcher trilogy, which they announced previously. The first game in the trilogy is called Project Polaris. It is in pre-production, will be a trilogy, like I said. Now, here's what I found to be the most interesting statement of the entire presentation, which is once they release the first game of this trilogy, they will complete the trilogy with the other two games within a 6-year period.
It's the Mass Effect.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I really don't. I know we were talking about this, but reading between the lines, that suggests to me they're going to use the same map. That they're going to have 3 Witcher games, and they're not going to have to build the ground from the ground up each time. They're going to put in the pre-production, and God willing, you then have 3 years between games, which is eminently doable if you're filling it with content and not with building the whole damn thing every time. So I think that's the plan.
Don't they not have a choice if they're using Witcher lore? They're in the continent. They've shown us the entire map.
Well, one, we've passed Witcher lore land, right? So, I mean, like you could send Geralt to another dimension at this point.
I mean, that is in Witcher lore, actually, to send him to another dimension. But I would say it would kind of feel weird if it took place in a different setting.
But look at Witcher 2. Look at Witcher 2 to Witcher 3, right? Witcher 3, obviously, wildly different map and dealings than Witcher 2, which was a completely different kind of game, realistically. It's a much smaller scale, build a city, have a level, do these kinds of things. So what I read it as is we're pipelining the whole thing in advance, which honestly more game companies should do. And in all likelihood, there's going to be high levels of asset sharing between the games.
There has to be cross development here. There has to be, and I would assume if they're doing this,
delayed, guys. These games.
Well, I was going to say I have to assume
you don't have to delay them because you don't have to announce. You didn't announce when the first one releases. If the first one releases 5 years, I mean, you could do this right. You could actually make sure that you're 2/3 of the way done with 2 before you even launch 1. Right. I mean, you could give yourself enough lead time so that you had cover to not hopefully delay this thing. And by the time you're finished with 1, if you're using the exact same kind of pipeline, this is how games used to be made. Right. This is why you get, 3 Final Fantasies in 5 years. It's not impossible to do this. I know people look at it and say never, ever, ever, but they have to hit whatever their next release is and not screw it up. And this is that. So I think that I'm far more willing to give them benefit of the doubt than everybody else apparently is.
No, I am in the exact. I was going to say the exact same thing as you, Hogue. They're obviously planning this as a trilogy from the outset, right? And in doing so, there is a lot of shared assets across the 3 games, or you can expect that to happen. I kind of said we've talked about this in the vein of a while ago now with God of War Ragnarok. Is when God of War Ragnarok was announced to coming late this year, and we said, okay, it's going to come 4 years after God of War 2018. This is going to be a cross-gen title. It's going to share assets, and that's not a bad. I'm not saying that is a bad thing. I'm saying that in terms of game development, there are things you can do to ensure you're not built to Hogue's point, building literally everything from the ground up every time you make a new game. And as long as you prioritize that kind of pipeline of and your developers, then this can be done. But to Hogue's point, what they need to do is ensure they are there when they release the first game. I just found it very curious from CD Projekt Red that they talked about a release schedule this far in advance. Why would you even bother saying that's going to come out 6 years, as a trilogy once the first releases?
I suspect, and I know I've talked about this with respect to Ubisoft games and also with respect to The Witcher 3, that they might be coming to the same conclusion I did, which is that for your $60 or your $70, some of these games are getting to be way too long. Right? So at that level, if you're going to release a Witcher game and it's going to be 50 hours long, real good time, right? But not Witcher 3 length, then one of the things you're going to want to prep in terms of PR and messaging is that, this is a whole big thing. We're making a whole big thing together, so that you understand that if you get your 50-hour Witcher instead of your 150-hour Witcher.
That could be.
And that to me, again, with that asset sharing kind of thing, that could look, if you were being cynical, like, you're going to take Witcher 3, you're going to split it into 3, and you're going to sell it 3 times, right? I mean, we've seen this before. We saw Blizzard do this. StarCraft 2 famously split the crap out of itself to sell it to you 3 times, right? So I think that that's most likely, and I think they're getting ahead of it by saying, this is a planned trilogy. They can also account there if there isn't a great, satisfying conclusion to Polaris 1, then it's like, well, it's just Sam and Frodo. They're just looking at Mordor. Don't worry about it. 3 years from now, we got this. Same way the Star Wars prequels were sold to us. And nobody has to like the prequels, but you knew that when they had planned it every 3 years, you were going to get a movie every 3 years, and then you knew that was the time frame you had to kind of survive. Versus Final Fantasy, you're just like, okay. Final Fantasy VII Remake is like, well, we made it so that it could be easily made into sequels so we could get this whole thing done rapidly. It's like 5 years later, we're going to have part 2, and who knows how far it gets.
So this could be like the sequels in that, like the second one, like Last Jedi would save the trilogy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, everybody agrees on that. So, I mean, like, that's absolutely true.
What is happening?
Yeah, no, I think that... I think they're taking a look at the length. They're taking a look at what people actually need. They're taking a look at their finish percentages. And they're also taking probably a look at what I would recommend everybody in gaming doing RPGs or story-based stuff look at it, which is Yakuza. I mean, it's a freaking brilliant use of assets, and they got freaking 14 games out of it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Japanese companies in general are really good at reusing assets and making.
And nobody cares, right? Yakuza is great because they tell interesting stories, and it's actually kind of cool to be like, this is a decade later. These things have changed, and you get to, have stories that interact with each other. To me, I would be looking at Yakuza if I were in charge of making games in an RPG context, because they do so much with so little in terms of assets.
Yeah, Kamurocho has been the same thing for basically every single game. You're in the same city almost, aside from, the ones that actually take place in feudal Japan and Like a Dragon. But they've changed engines a couple times, but for generally, you're right. I mean, that's the way to do it.
I don't think that's a bad thing. I think a lot of people assume that's a bad thing and every game has to be built from the ground up. And it's like, that's not the case. And you can't, I also find it funny. You'll see these arguments sometimes where, the same people complaining about reused assets or this looks too samey or, those type of comments will then be complaining that games take forever to make and that they're delayed. And it's like, well, you can't, there's ways that, to your point, Hogue, there's ways that companies, when they're planning out something like this is a perfect example, seemingly, we'll see how it gets delivered.
Yeah, I mean, God knows.
Yeah, we're projecting a little bit here, but this should be potentially a good model on how a new kind of RPG trilogy could be made, right? And I hope one of the things they did talk about, if you watch the full, there's a video you can find, we linked it on our site, you can find it on their channel, where it's kind of like an overview of all their announcements, and they did kind of talk about lessons learned, which you feel they had to talk about lessons learned, right? So you hope that they've kind of got this ready to go in the sense of developing kind of all 3 simultaneously.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't want people to laugh it off as inherently ridiculous, because I really think the industry should be looking more at the people that are doing good jobs with the assets. So if CD Projekt Red wants to try to do that, then I'm hey, go hit it.
Sorry.
Oh, no, not at all. The smartest thing that I think they did is they didn't commit to a time for number 1. Right. So it's invisible for what that pipeline is going to be in terms of creation to us. And then there's always a time where you could have hit the button. I mean, if you just imagine that you don't even tell anybody about Cyberpunk until, moments before it releases, it doesn't feel like it's 7 years. If you don't tell anybody about when you're planning to release Polaris. 14 delays internally, we don't see. So you get those things in a row. And even if you had it on the shelf and you wanted to get a year into development at 2, if that's what gave you the cushion that you wanted to, Cyberpunk, for right or wrong, gave you a lot more money again. So you guys have you're flush with cash to figure out how this works. And I'm entirely in favor of it. Witcher 3 is obviously one of my favorite games of all time. And I think even broaching a sequel to Witcher 3 is a tricky proposition. I'm giving up.
I will say I'm happy to see Hogue hopeful about something in the games industry, and also I will say I kind of disliked the a reaction from the industry, at least some of the people I follow on Twitter, to this, which was sort of like all pessimistic, kind of, oh well, so much for not worker crunch and stuff, and it's like, give them a chance. They're running their company. We don't know what this looks like. Perhaps, as Hogue has mentioned, maybe this is addressing crunch of not making a 300-hour game and making smaller stuff and reusing assets. Maybe this is part of that strategy. And I would just say, let us not judge before we know the facts. Let us calm ourselves and
judging
enjoy.
Before we know the facts is what Twitter's for.
That's Twitter, right? We are talking about pros, blue checks or otherwise. And this is where I get.
That's true.
This is where my full contrarian streak comes in. Is like, okay, look, I've been dissing CDPR through 14 shareholder meetings and 2 board conversations and 5 lawsuits, and they really, really screwed up. But that doesn't mean that they should just die. They can try to improve. And this is a plan that sounds like it could work.
Yeah. Agreed. We got to give, we'll see how it turns out. And we all know they paid the price for what happened with Cyberpunk. And that damage was substantial to CD Projekt Red. So, you hope that, to Hogue's point, they have learned and they're putting forth the best foot. And the plan, as they laid it out, I actually really enjoyed, to your guys' point. We're only a quarter of the way through it, so I'll keep going here. Right. Real quick, I'll shout out. We passed 150 people in the chat. Thank you all. Love having you here with us. Please feel free to comment on the Cyberpunk and Witcher stuff with us. And please hit that like button if you will, please. Yeah, we're at 66 likes. 150 people watching. Please help us out. Definitely, as we always say, greatly helps the old Google algorithm. So that is the trilogy. Separate of the trilogy, this is the other one that we think we heard a leak about several months ago. It's codenamed Canis Majoris, or Canis Majoris. It is another full-fledged Witcher game outside of the Polaris trilogy. It's going to be developed by an external studio with an experience. This is what they said: an experienced studio who have worked on prior Witcher titles. So this could be the one we heard about, which is going to be the prequel to the original Witcher trilogy with Geralt, where we possibly go back in time to look at Vesemir or the Witcher school as it was kind of founding.
Don't do that. Just do a sequel to Thronebreaker. We need more of that.
Well, I thought it was
fantastic.
I like Thronebreaker.
When they started their description, I thought it might be Thronebreaker. Thronebreaker's great. But when they say full-fledged, I think people would take offense if it were the card game.
They did make it sound like it was more of a big RPG.
I think the full-fledged gives away the game there. It's like
it's the best Witcher story.
Thronebreaker's good. Best Witcher story. Good Lord, there's a lot to choose from.
I was behind you, but don't stretch it.
Best Witcher story in a game.
Yeah. Thronebreaker's fun. Thronebreaker has a lot of cool politics and kingdom discussions that I think Travis and I both enjoy. But there's some really good stuff in Witcher 3.
There is. I will also say Witcher 3 is one of my favorite games of all time overall. But like, if you're just doing story to story, I think Thronebreaker's better. The writing is so damn good in that game.
Silkanet says, and welcome, good morning. I don't remember seeing you in the chat before. If you have, I apologize. But he says CDPR's roadmap feels like what Riot is doing with League of Legends, where they're delegating the IP to external studios for different genres.
They hope they get to Riot's success level at this right now. It's a
good strategy. Do outside of your house what you aren't good at doing internally. Yeah.
As long as you can oversee it properly, it can be a good strategy. Yes.
Well, expect everybody on Earth to have more Netflix titles. Edge Runners showed how that works. So we're going to get a lot more of everybody making TV shows.
And
Some will probably even be okay to good.
Will they have Chris Pratt?
Some will. He will voice.
God, I hope so.
He will voice some of the characters. Troy Baker will voice all the others.
Oh God, somebody kill me, please.
I will say this, Ains, though, even if you are good at overseeing your external development partners, as we know, sometimes they will just publish your game without your consent and then sell it on the Nintendo store until you have to have it taken down. So who knows?
Sometimes.
Who knows what can happen in the beautiful world of games?
There appear to be some shady publishers out there.
Yeah, gaming industry's fun. All right, so that was Witcher. Then they talked about Cyberpunk, and as we already knew, Phantom Liberty, which is the expansion to 2077, is coming next year. Just they reconfirmed that. Orion is the code name they're using for a new, what they describe, new AAA Cyberpunk game in that universe. It is being developed by a new or growing CDPR studio in Boston.
They shipped it to the U.S., folks.
They did. So Pal,
we know our Cyberpunk
straight out of Poland.
Yeah, so Pal Sasko, who is he's one of the lead quest designers on Cyberpunk. He's very vocal on Twitter. He's done a lot of the live streams. He's moving to Boston and helping to head this up. So this is cool. I was excited to hear that they're going to continue to expand on the Cyberpunk IP because I feel they need to. So
gonna make a wicked Cyberpunk game.
It is very interesting choice to probably triple your labor costs on your video game development for one of your major platform titles. So it's interesting to see exactly why CD Projekt decided to go that direction.
Yeah. Diego in the house. Fell asleep last night feeling 42. Woke up feeling 43. I'm going to go ahead and presume that's your birthday. So happy birthday, my good friend. I hope you're doing well.
I thought it was tomorrow, but
I hope it isn't your birthday and you're just feeling old.
Hey,
yeah, I woke up feeling 73.
You had a creaky leg and you felt older. I get it.
I hope you're 30. I hope you're 30 and you went to sleep feeling 42 and woke up.
He's not 30, but happy birthday,
depends
Diego.
on who your college football team is, how old you feel when you go to sleep.
Diego is, if you're not familiar, he does all of our graphic work here at Season Gaming and has for a long time. So big
nice.
Thank you.
Well, after that joke, I think Mike, if he ever does a graphic of me, I'm going to come out a little bit more goblin-esque.
Should we have a graphic of you, like a full-on graphic design Travis for when he goes on, like when he turns the camera off?
Why not?
We should. We definitely should.
I'm waiting to get that level of Twitter fame where people send you art of yourself. I'm not that level yet. I'm sure Bo has that.
I have to say, it is awesome 90% of the time and frightening 10.
No, I want the frightening ones. I want to send my fiance like, dude, somebody did like this highly sexual drawing of me. Do you want to check that out?
Travis, I will send you a picture somebody made of me with my face as a naked Care Bear.
Beautiful.
You can enjoy that.
I don't know if that will do it for my fiance, but I'll send it to her.
Find that next week on Bitcast After Dark.
Yeah, After Dark.
Well, so Care Bears. So one of the things I do and I help people get likes and subscribes, which you should be doing right now on Season Gaming, is I jokingly talk about Care Bear staring at the subscribe button, and so I have a fair number of very awesome pictures of me as a Care Bear and a number of not frightening Care Bear pictures. So there you go.
Yeah, it's a good level of fame.
All right, so we're still on CD Projekt Red.
Sure.
CD Projekt Red. They're also developing a new IP, not Witcher nor Cyberpunk, that they're codenamed Project Hadar. They did mention that this is in the absolute earliest stages of production.
I wouldn't have announced this one.
No, they're working on literally the setting for the game and the foundation, which means they
said
they're going to make a game.
The idea of this presentation, hey guys, we're still a company. We're not going anywhere. Here's all the stuff we're definitely doing because we are still a studio.
Travis, you want to be more cynical than that? You want to be more cynical than that with me?
No, I don't, but let's do it.
There's a lot of money going around the gaming industry. And anybody that might be interested in purchasing a Polish company might want to know that there's a U.S. presence and a pipeline of goods and services for the next 7 to 10 years.
Very well could be true.
God, I hope not.
I'm just saying.
And I'll use that as a segue to announce that the last thing they said is that Marcin Owinski, who is the co-founder and joint CEO of CD Projekt Red, is submitting. He's not stepping down, but he's submitting his role, his not application, but he's submitting for his candidacy is the word I'm looking for the chairman of the supervisory board. He's handing over his duties to the board.
He's moving from management to the board. With an extra step in Poland, it sounded like, but certainly one that would be assumed to be a fait accompli because you don't announce it in this way. If you don't just assume it's just a done deal.
So is he moving to a non-creative role? Is the idea?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
He's moving from management to the board. And so
Lobster 11 says 10 cent coming in with the wands for that Polish kielbasa.
Please,
all I'm saying
God,
is
no.
the other
Please,
thing that
no.
the other thing that an acquirer might be concerned about is a founder level management creative that could otherwise cause problems for a changeover in management direction. So if you wanted to clear the decks for a potential phone call from somebody with a lot of won or otherwise, one of the things you might do is pre-clear your creative force from the CEO role to make sure everything was clean for a transition. I'm not saying that is going to happen because I have no greater knowledge of this, but I do know how these things look. And certainly you would announce a big pipeline if you wanted people to know that you had a big pipeline of potentially profitable products ready to go in the next decade.
Very true.
Don't do it.
Damn.
Don't do it, please.
Travis is like, oh no, that makes sense.
It does make sense. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. And on that note, that's another segue for you, because now we have to turn to our favorite weekly segment. It has now become As the Acquisition Turns.
Oh.
So, Hogue.
We need a musical entry.
I do.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay.
So you know what I like to do? I kind of put you on the spot, even though it's not really putting you on the spot because you talk about this anyway a lot.
I can talk about this.
I know, but I'll give you 38 seconds this week.
Okay.
Because what we heard this week was that Brazil has approved the Xbox or Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard with no concessions. And of course, as you would expect, the Twitter community and particularly the Xbox community got onto the rooftops and chanted and celebrated and had cake and said it's a done.
All we ever needed was Brazil.
All we needed was Brazil.
Football is life.
As Brazil makes decisions, all the other nations follow suit.
I have gotten that question so many times this week, Travis.
I know. And I kind of laughed at the concept of so many
it's an economic powerhouse. The United States just falls in line behind it when they make a decision like this.
I had somebody Twitter comment to me, and I said, because I had said, well, it's a very small market. You would expect them to follow the large markets, and and I don't know if it was Brazilian or not, or just an Xbox fan. It's like it's a large market. I was like, well, it's an emerging market. Brazil is not. I like Brazil, fantastic, but they're less than $1 billion in gaming industry. And then you're like, well, it's the same size as UK. I was like, well, UK is at like 7 billion, so like it's about 7 times lower. But hey, okay. I am happy to talk about this on whatever front you would like.
So at the highest level, because I certainly don't want to get to a point where we spend 10 minutes on acquisition Xbox talk every week.
That's my channel.
Yeah, I mean, no, in all seriousness, Hogue covers this in far better detail on
Watch Hogue's video, but
we're going to talk about this again tomorrow because Microsoft actually did its version of a Twitter comment about how awesome it is yesterday. We're going to be covering that tomorrow. In short, Brazil's one of the jurisdictions that Xbox needed approval from. Basically, Microsoft needs approval from every jurisdiction where they want to sell Xboxes and video games into. Doesn't mean that they're of the same kind of size and caliber. The US, the EU, China, and the UK are the ones that are identified in their SEC filings as being the most important. US, EU, UK is not going to take its directives from Brazil. But if any of those jurisdictions decide that they do want to approve this deal without concessions or without restrictions, as Brazil puts it, you could expect some of the language that Brazil used to somehow find its way in. You like to backstop with other regulators if you can, but it's not going to drive them. So if they're already going to match up, they'll use some of that. If they're not, they're going to ignore it, or they're going to differentiate whatever they're talking about. And it will be easy to do because Brazil did exactly what you want regulators to do. They focused on their own jurisdiction and their own citizenry. So huge swaths of this document say, well, Call of Duty is super popular, but not here. And we don't care. PlayStation is 60% of our market. Call of Duty doesn't appear on any of our top 10 lists for the last 5 years. So none of your arguments make any sense for Brazilians, Sony. And we're going to press on. Now that, of course, doesn't guide the US, doesn't guide the UK, doesn't guide the EU, but people kind of get a little bit excited about an approval of this type. So right now the deal's been approved by Saudi Arabia and Brazil. And we would expect the US and the EU and the UK to potentially go a slightly different direction. Brazil has what I would describe as the historical view of antitrust. And that what they wrote in their 300 paragraphs, which you can see me go over on my channel, is effectively, we're in charge of protecting competition, not competitors. Yes, this will give a competitive advantage to Xbox. That's allowed. We want our companies to spend our money and to invest in industries. Sony, get out of here. That is broad strokes. Like I said, 300 paragraphs, folks. And certainly some folks that are psychologically, emotionally invested in this large multinational acquisition took to the streets to proudly proclaim that it had happened. No, it won't drive anything in the future from the other bigs, but it is an interesting way to see, because I think Brazil actually brought up some good points. The most interesting of which, and then I'll stop, I know I've gone over my 38 seconds, is that Brazil used the prevalence and popularity of the Nintendo Switch as a hammer in about 5 different places to say, Sony, if you can't participate in gaming without Activision, what's Nintendo doing, yo? And they did it like that in 5 separate places. And it's like, okay, maybe Nintendo is going to cut off most of the arguments from some of these jurisdictions that are more inclined to look at antitrust as it has historically looked, and not what I would describe as a more activist presence in what we are anticipating will be activist regulators in the EU, the UK, and the US. How is that?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Way too long. I would have just said it doesn't matter unless it's the US or EU. That would have been my argument.
It doesn't not matter. I mean,
look,
man, I make videos on this stuff. I'm not going to disclaim it mattering.
I was going to say it's interesting as a it's interesting just to see and to read and to understand. But I think where it got lost, and the joke I was making earlier, is that people were seemingly thinking or believing that this signified something towards the
US.
When
I think of the leaders. When I think of the leaders of the international stage, I think Brazil and Saudi Arabia, they're really at the forefront of our.
If you go into my comments right now on that video, you will have a series of people say, well, doesn't the FTC have to take this as precedent? The one thing that I would impart on people, and I do this on my channel, I do it elsewhere, is that international law, and this is one of the very first things they will teach you in international law class in law school. International law is a lie. There is no international law. Brazil does not control the US, does not control China or the EU or the UK, and none of those jurisdictions control each other. So if you're making a multinational acquisition, one of the things you're doing is you're sitting back there, you're Phil Spencer, or more likely you're the lawyers and you're Satya Nadella, and you're saying, okay, let's figure out what these jurisdictions are looking for, what they're looking at, and what they might want. And so that's why I think it's February, a month after the deal is announced, you have Phil Spencer go out there and say, of course, we're not going to take Call of Duty away, because they had identified after they had an unsuccessful attempt to pre-negotiate a Call of Duty contract with Sony that this was going to be a stumbling block for Sony and that Sony might turn on them and try to bite them. Now, I have to admit, I didn't anticipate Sony doing what it's doing, which is apparently going whole hog in the public on this, which I don't think is great for the industry, period. But we could talk on that another time. But Microsoft had identified that. And then it's a matter of, okay, if the FTC is going to be a little bit activist, if the EU is going to be a little bit activist, what can we give them as a kind of unified set of concessions? Because we don't want to have to be thinking about selling 16 different versions of Xbox or Game Pass or licenses. So we have to try to get all of these jurisdictions into something that they generally agree on without giving up too much stuff. And that is a ridiculously tricky job. The legal fees for this, either internally or externally, will be enormous, not $70 billion enormous. So then the lawyers can write their bills all they want because it's not going to be anywhere near the actual deal size. But that's the goal. And Brazil saying, we don't care. I would have told you, especially in January, before I saw a little bit more of the politics happening here, that none of these smaller jurisdictions were likely to do anything about this. That bare minimum they'd hold. And then wait for one of the bigger jurisdictions that they could follow. I think Australia is currently holding to see what the U.S. does. And that's the most you would get from the smaller jurisdictions. And I'm sorry, yes, $1 billion is a lot of money, Brazil, but you're not driving the conversation.
Very fair. Very fair. So I don't know. I think you give excellent context, as I said. If you want more detail and you want Hogue to really break it down, obviously check out his channel. If you're watching this, you should be checking out his channel anyway. But I think that it's nice just to cover this at a high level, because every time something happens with this acquisition or even other acquisitions, I see just these crazy narratives on Twitter, and I'm like, oh God, guys, please calm down and can we talk about this realistically? And you do that very well, so it's nice.
I'm doing my best. I think we're making inroads.
I think so. I really do. I really do. So, with that, making inroads is what Chris Pratt is trying to do with his voice for Mario.
It's a bit stretched, but I still like the attempt.
I tried. We got the Super Mario Brothers movie trailer this week, and I'll start with my thoughts, because I'm actually relatively optimistic on this trailer. I gotta be
my girls review when it comes to me. You'll see.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, cool. So I watched this trailer. I liked it. I thought they touched on some of kind of these classic tropes of the Mario games, and I like the look of it. I like that what it has potential to be. So I'm actually quite excited for it. The big thing, of course, was Pratt's voice of Mario in the US dub, or whatever you want to call it, because the dubs in the other countries are vastly different, by the way.
I think the most popular version of the trailer on YouTube right now is the French.
Okay,
I believe.
But I don't really care. Like, I agree it doesn't sound great, but I don't really care. That's not going to make the movie for me. If the movie's good, and I'll watch it and enjoy it. I'm at the point now, I think, with a lot of this entertainment, we get so much entertainment. I was thinking about that this week. So many games and so many movies and so many shows and so much entertainment that if something like this comes out in a vein that I'm interested in, I'll watch it. If it's good, great. If it's not, oh well. I'm not as heavily invested, I think, as I used to be. So I hope it's good. It looks okay to me. I'm excited to see it. And if it's bad, it'll be bad. So be it.
Well, there's certainly wisdom in never having any kind of emotional attachment to a video game movie. I will say, as somebody who's had their heart broken a number of times, and now
what broke your heart the most, Travis?
What game movie broke my heart the most?
Fast and Furious. That's probably what it was.
No, what?
No, he's not.
That was a movie first. How dare you? And it's amazing.
Amazing's a strong word.
Amazing. 10 out of 10.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on.
I wouldn't get Fast.
I thought you might be able to pull one.
Assassin's Creed. That broke my heart.
Awful.
I mean, that could have been such a good. It's almost built for a movie, and they just completely.
I'll give you one. When they said Mark Wahlberg was Sully in Uncharted, that just
Uncharted.
I'll be
honest. I couldn't even watch that movie because I saw the trailer and I went, no, like that's not how I want to think of those characters. So
see, for me, it's going to be Final Fantasy Spirits Within. Because I don't mind that movie that much as a movie, but it captures none of what I love about Final Fantasy.
Yeah, it was brutal. Yeah, so there's too many of them. But I will say this: I think the world was very there. Like a whole scene with Bowser coming out and the penguins. I was just like, oh, this feels like Mushroom Kingdom. I really like that. I didn't have a problem with any of the voices, including Chris Pratt's, which, we heard 5 words or whatever, but I don't think they could have done a stereotypical Italian accent in America. I don't think that would have been palatable to the general audience of the United States personally. So I don't have a problem with he's doing something. It sounded like a Brooklyn kind of like he was going for that.
He is going a little bit like that.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me.
Kingdom.
Yeah, but I don't think he could have done a voice. That's what it sounded like. He's right. That's what it sounded like. It sounded like he was like going for he was going for what plumbers sound like. Italian plumbers that live in like the Bronx.
Yeah. Travis is right. Our sample size is like nothing.
It's nothing, and I really don't think that should be I don't think it should be Chris Pratt's fine. If the movie is good, Chris Pratt being not your favorite voice is really the least important thing about it. And
that's my point.
This out there. Yeah, it's like the least important thing. And I'll put this out there: we don't have any even like decent movies based on games. So if this one ends up, if the worst thing about this movie is Chris Pratt's voice, I'll be struck by how amazing this movie is by comparison.
Well,
and I know, Hogue, I know you're gonna pick that we do have some movies that are good that are based.
Sir, I would refer you to the Halo TV show. Thank you very much.
Oh God, that was a great example.
If we're allowing TV shows, the discussion starts and ends at Arcane. Okay.
Well, those are shows.
That's right.
True.
And I said if we're allowing TV shows, I fully lawyered that.
for sure. But people point at Sonic. I saw somebody in the chat do that. Yeah.
Okay, but Sonic is that typical Hollywood take the piss out of the game idea by putting it in the real world. Like, we know that plot line. Hollywood does that all the time. That isn't a Sonic movie as much as it's a movie with Sonic the Hedgehog. Mario looks to be a Mario movie, as best we can tell from that teaser, at least. I'll say this that I said in Twitter. First, I don't love celebrity-laden animated movies. Like, I don't like that. I don't like to immediately have a picture of the celebrity in the sound booth as they try to say whatever it is they were saying. I thought Jack Black came across as Jack Black being Bowser, especially when he's grabbing the star.
That was Jack Black. I didn't even. That was crazy.
Well, there you go. That's pretty good.
But here's the thing: I don't know celebrities that well, so I'm probably not.
Well, and then they do that thing, which to me is always an indicator of this is not going to be my kind of movie, where they throw up all the celebrities at the end. It's like, great, awesome.
Yeah.
Whatever. Charlie Day as Luigi is not going to be what I had wanted for Luigi. I know that, and I like Charlie Day.
It sounds perfect. I don't.
Travis is all in. This is fine. This is not what Rick likes. Okay, I don't have to.
Yeah.
In any event, so Chris Pratt sounded like he was doing nothing, but I also think as a teaser, I don't know that they even had his voice done yet. Like, teasers are teasers. I will tell you, as I promised, that my girls, when they saw this, especially my oldest, absolutely loved like the animation styling in particular of like the angry penguins.
You're gonna say
and like the shot out of them throwing snowballs and Bowser not caring, and they use an ice cube to knock over one of the Koopas, and he takes it fully on the face, and like they were laughing all in on that kind of stuff.
It makes me very happy, Hug. Thank you.
Yeah, no, and so they're in on the animation. On the voices, this was interesting. My oldest didn't care. My oldest was like, that's all fine. It's Bowser, it's Mario, whatever. My youngest immediately goes, oh, that's not them. This feels weird. And seriously, I'm not joking. Now, it wasn't Bowser and it wasn't Mario.
Doesn't have a voice. Yeah.
It wasn't Bowser and it wasn't Mario that drew the strongest reaction. It was their Toad. She goes, that's not Toad.
That was Keegan-Michael Kay. She goes nothing like him.
She straight up goes, that is not Toad. And then she did 6 lines of how Toad should sound in my room. And I'm like, well, honestly, they should have cast you because that's a pretty good Toad you got there. Yeah. So the Hogue House is definitely going to see this movie. I have no expectations.
Stream it.
Whatsoever.
Stream it.
I think that would be illegal. I think it's going to be in the theater.
What do we do? We follow the rules here, or are we renegades?
Dear Michigan Bar Association, we follow the rules. So no, I mean, look, we'll take a look at it. We might do a post-mortem. I might have the whole clan on. Who knows? But I think that it is going to be very popular with the group that it's aimed at.
Yes.
And I think it's very colorful and it's very charming looking. I don't tend to like Illumination stuff as much as the rest of my family. So I'm the wrong person.
As somebody who doesn't know anything about this.
Minions.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's the Minions group.
Minions makes a lot of money as this.
I know.
But you can see it. If you actually look at Mario, you can see they have like a very specific house style for human beings. He is an Illumination Mario. And so we'll see. They do celebrities. You know, they did all sorts of things. But they're very popular, and my family likes it more than me. I think it'll be a big time winner. I do think the other thing I will add to this, and then I will let everybody else talk, is, you know, Nintendo did a Nintendo Direct, which was a lie because it's a movie and not video games. But they did a Nintendo Direct on this, and they had like 2 Zoom calls, one with Chris Pratt and one with Jack Black. And I wanted to add this as well because Chris Pratt, you know how I commented during, I think it was the Game Awards, but it might have been a different show, on how much I hated how The Rock did his promotion of whatever crap he was promoting, the energy drink.
His energy drink. And
Chris Pratt was worse. And what my daughter actually said on this was he is making me feel uncomfortable. Like, it was, that's what she said. Like, it was like a hostage video. I highly recommend people check it out. And I said, look, I think he gets way too much crap from Twitter. He puts cheeks in seats. He is clearly a popular actor. Get out of here with whatever. But like, he was not invested in promoting that movie. So it goes from Shigeru Miyamoto looking just over the moon that there's a Mario movie, to Chris Pratt looking like he's in a hostage video, to Jack Black being fully Jack Black but you have wildly different energy levels between the hostage video and then Shigeru Miyamoto being like, "Oh, this is so awesome," and then opening the trailer. And Chris Pratt stood out like a sore thumb. My wife posits that he's over being in movies at all. I don't know whether that's in fact the truth, but it was uncomfortable. My daughter nailed it.
Your daughter seems
I like the
a good judge of
penguins. I
character.
agree with your daughters on that. I thought that whole opening sequence was great. With
But I had to
Bowser
tell
and
them
the
that probably
penguins.
wasn't like in the movie proper, like or a major part of the movie because they're like, we're just going to see the penguins. I was like,
Probably the opening would be my guess, like the first 30
he
seconds.
seems to be capturing stars from various kingdoms. It might be a number of them, but like, yeah, it's like those penguins aren't really in them. Don't go to see the penguins. You got to set your daughter's expectations right.
I
This movie
think
is going to make
penguins will
a
be in the
ton
movie.
of money. It's going to
Yeah,
make
it's
a ton
gonna.
of
Yeah,
money.
I showed it to my wife, who is definitely not into video games, and the only video game she really does play when she does play video games is the first Mario game.
Oh, cool.
That's literally it. Maybe Mario 3. She's like, "Oh yeah, this is great."
Legend.
She's like, "This is amazing." She's like, "We're definitely going to see this. This is going to be really, really good." I'm like, "Yeah."
There you go. You have
looks-
it from
looks-
our sample size average American gamer.
Yes.
That
She's excited.
that they're gonna like this movie. There you go.
By the way,
I mean,
Beast Mode says in the chat, by the way, Angry Birds movies are really good. I was surprised at how good the Angry Birds movie was. Good. Excuse me. That was a weird sentence. You know what I meant.
We did know what you meant. Yeah, look, the thing of it is it looks like it might have good graphics, which we know is what gets Dan to go to anything anyway. And then we don't have any idea of what they're going to do with the story. My fear would be it'll be meta contextual, celebrity laden nonsense that Illumination kind of leads into. If you watch Sing, for instance, from them.
I think it's going to be reverse of that old Super Mario movie we have where, you know, Mario gets put into the real world. Clearly, Chris Pratt's version of Mario doesn't come from the Mushroom Kingdom. I think he's going to get like some dude some plumber in the Bronx is going to get sucked down a toilet and he's going to come out into the, you know, Super Mario Mushroom Kingdom or whatever.
Oh, I think he's going to
something like that.
If I'm them, he starts in New Donk City, right? Like it's going to be New Donk City is where he gets grabbed from as a plumber in Nintendo's version of New York already.
That's a good idea.
Did they? By the way,
I bet you it won't be that.
Did they give a release date?
They did April 7, I want to say.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Get your taxes done and go watch Mario.
I think it's going to be, yeah. I hope it's good. I know it's going to do well in the theater. I think one thing I wanted to mention, which I just
Mario
forgot,
was an isekai.
Never realized an isekai. What's an isekai?
Said, yeah. Oh, sorry. An isekai is an anime trope where somebody gets thrown into another universe or world.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It was a
by the way,
great comment from a fellow anime watcher, G-Man. Enjoy
there
it.
you go.
The
Dan, you mentioned your wife.
Post did say it was an isekai trailer. That's your friend Gene Park.
Okay, moving on. There is, if you weren't aware, this is a random plug since we're talking about Mario. A guy on Mario Maker 2 for the Switch. There's a guy who has been making a spiritual successor to Super Mario World for like 7 years. He started in Mario Maker 1. He migrated everything to Mario Maker 2 and rebuilt it. And he just released it last week where it's like 37 levels in a world where he calls it Super Mario Brothers 5. So his whole goal was to make a new 2D classic 16-bit Mario game in the vein of Super Mario World, but to make a fully fledged out Nintendo 2D Mario game. I actually tried it. It's the first time I've turned on my Switch in months. I played the first level. It's really good. You can find it. If you just look it up on Twitter, look it up on Google, you'll find it, but it's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
That's
so if you like classic Mario and you have Mario Maker 2, it's free to go find his creator code and play it.
This is just a corporate lawyer in me, but why in the world would you spend that much effort building something on somebody else's non-monetizable platform?
Well,
that's not the lawyer in you. That's the capitalist in you, Hogue.
Yeah. I don't know is the answer. I certainly wouldn't do it, but he did, and it's awesome. So why not?
Cool.
Maybe he's building skills to make his own platformer. You know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But it's when I saw it on Twitter, I was like, that's interesting. Let me check this out. And I was blown away. Like, yeah.
Well, like amazing. In Dreams, for instance, there was like a Twitter ad for like a new like 3D platformer. And I literally was looking at it going like, oh, I'll buy that. When does it come out? And it's like, oh, it's a dreams campaign. It's like, oh, well, now I feel bad for you.
Oh man,
His dreams were a 2D Mario 5.
Yeah. All right. So a couple updates on games coming out. So Dead Space this week, we got new footage on it. We got what do you call it? New screenshots to kind of new details on how the remake is. Things like you're going to be able to traverse the entire Ishimura. It's not going to be broken up into segments anymore. The entire ship is kind of accessible throughout the whole game. They're making other updates like that. And of course, they announced a collaboration to release a collector's edition with limited run games, which these guys made fun of me immediately for, because I said I'm getting that 1-to-1 scale helmet because I want Isaac's helmet, and these guys told me that it looked hideous. That's what they told me.
By the time that game comes out, limited run and Embracer might be owned by the Saudi prince and family. So we'll see how it goes.
That's true. Very true.
So I'll say this: the Dead Space looks great. That helmet is butt ugly.
I concur.
Yeah.
Yep.
100%. Man.
I'm sorry, dude. It looks like a cosplay made, like somebody made it from their house out of like cardboard and.
Well, anything that's going to be mass produced is only going to be so great. But it's like it's an industrial mining hat, even if you're being fully within your lore.
And I'll say this, Ains, I think the only reason that helmet looks cool is because it does the Dead Space thing where it goes coom, 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 coom. And if you don't get that in the helmet, it's just a stationary, you put it on, it looks stupid.
It looks ridiculous.
Until they have the tech to make it go and come down your thing, it's gonna look dumb. They need the Iron Man full effect. You know what I mean? I think that's my problem.
They couldn't sell the $2,000 collector's edition.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Why didn't they just do the plasma cutter? That would have been way better.
They did that in Dead Space too. I have the plasma cutter.
Yeah, come on, Dan.
Come on.
I'm out of touch with my collectibles.
Try and keep up, Dan.
I got Isaac's.
Keep up with.
I got Isaac's plasma cutter.
I got 15 of them sitting over here, and 4 of them in a box still.
I got Isaac's dog tags. One edition had a model Ishimura. I got it all. They had to do the hat.
He's got all of the equipment of Isaac, and he's been working for the past 10 years to make his body look like a necromorph. So he's just all in on the Dead Space world building. He's got it all.
I tell you, Dead Space looks great. Dan is in. The graphics look amazing. I will say this. They continue.
Dan is in. The graphics.
They continue to worry me that the description of the game includes expands narrative elements to whatever. And it's like, oh God, help me.
So I actually talked to Zach at Season Gaming, and he's like a gigantic horror fan and Dead Space nerd, like all the comics. He's like hardcore into it. Knows way more about it than me. So what he called out is that Isaac and the other female are now voice acted.
They're talking.
They're voice acted by these professional voice actors, and I don't know. He was extremely excited about it. So I guess we'll see how it turns out. Yeah,
Troy Baker.
No,
it's not Troy Baker. They got the guy that spoke in Dead Space 2.
Oh, okay.
They got Isaac.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Isaac. It's just he didn't speak as much, if at all. Yeah. Did Isaac ever speak?
Yeah,
I don't remember, honestly.
Isaac speaks.
I haven't played it
in 1
years.
Not in 1.
Okay.
Wait.
If he did, it was little bits.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have it exactly memorized as whether one character from an EA game that got abandoned a decade ago is actually speaking.
I'm thinking at the end of the game, the word with the twist and the holocron.
I don't know that he reacts with words.
Yeah,
I think you're right. I think he doesn't talk,
but not 1. Yeah.
Anyway, but he definitely speaks in 2.
Yeah. So anyway,
I think they got the 2 Isaac and they brought him back to the 1.
Are they doing the whole trilogy, or is it just the first game that we know of?
Just the first game so far.
I am sure EA is happy to make more Dead Spaces if this sells like gangbusters, but they are not committing.
Make a 4. What are they doing? Anyway.
Well, I also learned, because 3 wasn't really my jam. I never fully finished 3.
3's really good.
No, I never finished 3, but Zach was telling me that the end of 3 had a DLC expansion. Right. And he said that expansion ends on a giant cliffhanger. And then they basically just ended the games. So he's, the hardcore Dead Space fans are, hopeful that this brings it back. We'll see. But I mean, I'm just super happy as a horror kind of, gamer that we get Callisto, Dead Space, and Resident Evil 4 remake in a span of 3 months. To me, that's like I'm in heaven with what's coming.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's fun. Remakes can be fun. I feel the same way about Suikoden's next year because we got the 1 and 2, and we got Eiyuden Chronicles within like 4 months.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, Suikoden, that is an announcement I didn't expect. Suikoden 1 and 2 returning. Wow.
With real work done to them, I'm like, okay,
yeah.
I assumed as soon as you said it's like, great, I can play it on my current systems, but they're going to be like junk, like Chrono Cross type remaster. But no, they look like they're real. So
yeah,
cool.
They look good. All right, we also got the new Need for Speed announcement this week.
Did we get it? I didn't get it.
I could rant about this for a while, so I'll try to stay. In form here. But Need for Speed Unbound is coming on December 2nd, same day as Callisto Protocol. Funny enough, it is new gen only, so PS5, Xbox Series consoles, PC. It features, and I don't know who these people are, I'm going to be honest with you, but it features ASAP Rocky, AWGE, and the composition of the soundtrack is done by Brodinski.
Sweet. You know who ASAP Rocky is?
Well, I know it's Rihanna's husband.
That's all you got to know. Get out of here.
Rihanna's husband.
Yep, that Umbrella Girl?
Did you just say who?
That's Stan's make-believe girlfriend, Hogue. You got to be careful.
Rihanna?
She had really? The umbrella.
Yeah. Wow, he adores Rihanna. He adores her.
I mean, Rihanna is amazing. So
someone's laughing at me for saying ASAP. I don't know. That's what it looks like to me.
What is ASAP usually? How is that usually pronounced?
ASAP.
There we go. He got it.
Okay. All right. That's him. ASAP Rocky. I don't know.
Okay. So they've got some popular musicians.
And he's in the game. Rocky is. He's in the game.
Is he an actor?
As a character in the game.
Everyone's an actor if they're in something, Hogue. The bar for being an actor is that you were a character.
It's like some Greek
even if that character is yourself, it still counts.
If you're an actor if you're acting.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't even have to act like another person. If you appear in something credited, you're an actor.
As yourself?
Yeah.
So like the people that do the Sports Center inserts on a sports movie that are still just doing Sports Center but with fake facts, they're actors now?
Correct. Anderson Cooper is an actor because he reports fake news in some movies.
Anderson Cooper's an actor because he pretends not to be a Vanderbilt. But yeah, okay.
How did I know you were going to have some witty repartee about Anderson Cooper when I brought up his name? I just knew there was something coming out of you.
My favorite bit of Anderson Cooper lore is that he quits doing the mole after the people in the mole throw him into a lake, and you can see it on camera how much he hates being in reality television. This is not how a Vanderbilt is treated.
No idea what we're referring to, but I'll keep it on. Go back to Need for Speed here. The graphic style is a mix of street art and graffiti. And there's a lot of plays within this game, according to the description on their site, that it takes place kind of like it's like the next generation of their Underground series. So you'll be, racing, doing a lot of street racing, getting away from police, doing heists, those types of things. The whole thing is about building your reputation, earning money, and of course, customizing your cars. They said one thing on the site, if I could find it, about like there being ability to like do custom wraps on your car, and I got to be honest with you,
on your car.
So this is a thing in the car where you do
custom music that you.
No, you do like people wrap their car. So instead of repainting, which is very costly and expensive, right?
Sure.
It says transform your car with unique wraps and cutaways, and this is literally a quote from the site, by the way. And stunt on the competition with customizable win poses. And I got to be honest with you, that the car guy in me kind of died a little when I read this.
I like that even in a video game, we need to be frugal and do a wrap instead of a repainting. I like that idea. That's very funny. Yeah.
It's got the corporate messaging has a lot of hello fellow kids vibe to it. I will say that.
It does.
RJH, I'm sorry. It literally referenced Underground in their press release.
That's not what Underground was.
Yeah, I know. He's
what's funny
saying
about
that's
this-
not-
It kind of
to
is.
me,
though.
to me, the worst part about this announcement right now is that it reminds me so much of Heat, which is their last game, which I consider to be an Underground type game. And what I wanted from the Need for Speed is at some point to go back to what I think of as the Need for Speeds that I really like, which is like winding country roads and like fall leaves flying with like police lights after me. Like that's what I think of. And this is not that, guys.
No, this is definitely different. I was trying to see if there's anything else, and I've got the summary here from their site. But time is money. Find the fastest way to earn enough cash to enter the weekly qualifiers. Make it to the ultimate race called the Grand, is what it's called. The original scores by Brodinski. He's a producer who built a connection between European techno and the Atlanta trap scene. Embodies the underground culture that races through the heart of Lakeshore. Lakeshore being the city that this takes place.
Yeah. It's the beating heart of this place we invented.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So there you go. As I said this week, I'm very, very excited for Forza Motorsport.
I believe that the Need for Speed Hot Pursuit remaster is available right now at 90% off for $3 on your PlayStation 4 if you're interested.
Wow.
No Need for Speed.
Need for Speed.
Oh,
It feels like they just don't know what to do with it. Like they keep trying to reinvent it, and maybe this will hit. I don't know. I'm not the market for this game. Maybe it'll do great, but I don't know. The only promising thing, if you're not aware, is Need for Speed nowadays is bought by made by Criterion, because EA bought Criterion, and Criterion actually has some really strong DNA in racing, like games.
Oh, Criterion's great.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
So I have to imagine it'll feel good. I just don't care for the approach they're taking.
I like Heat more than I should.
Criterion is known for racing games and releasing vintage movies.
That's right. It's the Burnout collection from Criterion.
Criterion collection.
Yeah, I just, what bothers me is I like their reinvention, and this feels much too close to Heat for me. I'd expected them to go and bounce off to one of their other directions.
Yeah, I'm not excited about this game.
Real Radic. There was a Need for Speed movie starring Aaron Paul in 2014. This is one of my guilty pleasure go-to movies. I believe it has a Rotten Tomato score of 20. Excuse me? I can't come. I'm on the live on. I'm told it's an emergency. I'll be back, gentlemen.
Excellent. I can speak. I can attest to the Need for Speed movie starring Aaron Paul being quite bad. But yeah, I'm not excited about this game, and I wish that because honestly, a hybrid car game with like RPG or story elements that like really gets into it with like illegal street racing, and you could, tell a story and do that. That's what I thought. What was the last one they did? It was like Wanted or something like that. What was it wasn't Wanted.
It was
most
Heat.
recent one. Was it called Heat? Was that the
I'm
one
pretty sure.
I played where there were like dude bros like talking about, oh yeah, you need to go undercover, illegal street racing sort of stuff. I can't really remember that storyline, but it could be so good.
Fast and the Furious. I mean, that's what it.
No, it's
basically that's what you're describing.
It was something like
Heat is the last one, but yeah. Well, the funny thing is, right? Like Fast and Furious, as much as I make fun of the movies, a game that kind of plays like that could be very good. But I don't think that's been delivered in that vein.
Yeah. Joshua Ford asks how I can dislike the Need for Speed movie as a true Fast and Furious fan. I never said I disliked it. I like that movie a lot. I just think it's a bad movie, but that's okay. You can like bad movies.
Sure.
Yeah. It's good. It's stupid popcorn junk food movie. But yeah, in my mind, my biggest problem with some of the Forza stuff, and I love the Forza games. I love Forza Motorsport. I love Forza Horizon. My biggest problem is that they don't spend enough time telling the story, and they don't give you kind of like a second thing to do. They don't give you like that the base to hang out at, or all the storytelling is done in a car.
Yeah, you want more of a person story that has cars.
Yeah,
in it.
I want there to be like a story where like how Thronebreaker is a Witcher game, but the gameplay is cards. I want to have like a proper either action adventure game or an RPG game where the gameplay is cars. Like,
Yeah.
why doesn't that exist in our modern day? And it seems like nobody's really nailed that. And I feel like Need for Speed is the brand to do it. Like, it could be, because that's not Forza's thing. Forza's never going to be that. And they don't want to be that because they're doing what they're doing right now. Gran Turismo definitely is never going to be that. And so there's like a void, I think, that could easily be filled by this brand that seems poised to do it. Like it's like the perfect one to do it, and they keep screwing it up. So I've not obviously played this game. I'll probably play it when it comes out. I played the last one, which was just a bad game, and I don't think their story was good or the writing was good, and also the even the driving was kind of crappy. But I just there's a void here to be filled, and I hope that they keep trying and maybe put some actual effort and thought into it more than they seem to have done in the past. Could be great.
Yeah, it feels like they're walking that line, right? It's like they're trying to set up characters. They're getting obviously professional people, or big names, I should say, to be in their game. It feels like they want to walk that line of having this character kind of relationship in their games, but they're just not taking that step. And I don't know why they wouldn't, because there's a lot of racing games on the market, and as much as we talk about the Gran Turismo and the Forzas, there's a lot of others, but I think that no one else has really broken through at that same level in recent times anyway. Need for Speed used to be huge, of course, but I don't know if this is going to be the thing that do it. And I think, to your point, if they took a few years, step back, you have Criterion to develop the racing aspects, but combine that with another studio that can write a story and kind of develop some meaningful, I'll use RPG mechanics here as a light kind of sense, but you know what I mean? Something where you're kind of character building and developing those relationships combined with the racing, you could have something pretty special.
I think it'd be hard to do. I mean, it'd be just really
it
hard
would,
to do, especially since if all of your gameplay is just driving. I mean, that's just tough. I mean, if you could somehow merge, like maybe like a first person, third person, whatever, So, I don't know, man.
I mean, it doesn't seem that hard to me, right? If the story is about illegal street racing and like making a name for yourself, dude, there's a halfway decent story in like a 2K basketball game, isn't there? Or is the FIFA storyline, or
No,
the FIFA one where you play a soccer player?
They did one in Madden, they did one in FIFA. I don't know how good they are. I haven't played them.
The Madden one
like,
is bad.
I think that I didn't play the Madden one. If you are there for the gameplay, what can be harmed by contextualizing each of the races and events behind like a story and adding characters to it and like making it. I feel like if you can make a good game and a good story where your primary gameplay mechanic is cards, which has nothing to do with anything and is probably less palatable than a high octane racing game, why couldn't you do it with racing? It just seems so obvious. I've just been waiting for a game like that for a long time because I love racing games, but for me, I get burned out on like a Forza Motorsport because you run a couple circuits and you win a couple trophies. You get like the top 3 cars you wish you could own in real life, and then you're sort of like, all right, I'm done. You just fall off it pretty quick. At least I do. And I feel like if there was something to kind of like reel me in and keep me playing, that would be so damn cool.
Yeah, I know that F1 does like a story career in there, but F1's a whole different ballpark, right? In terms of
it is
cars and racing.
Also, I reviewed a couple of those and I don't remember the story being much. It was basically like
no, it's new. It's part of their new game.
Oh, it's coming up. Okay.
Like F1 2022, I believe, has like this. Yeah, I don't know how good it is, but I know it has it. I played a little bit of it.
That's
I've
cool.
got Bert plays F1 religiously every year, so he talks to me about it. And then RJH says, aren't they alienating some players who don't know or care who these real people are? If they had at least added some people that are involved with cars, it would make more sense. I guess it depends on the market they're going for.
Yeah, they're trying to bring more people in. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This is a move for them to do the opposite, where they're saying, hey, let's get people you recognize so that maybe you'll check it out and then you'll
recognize the artist. You'll go play the game. Yeah,
exactly. And then you play it and you go, oh, this is actually good. I wouldn't have played this normally, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Hogue, you all right? Everything okay?
Yeah, I got to go. So I just want to give you a chance to extra or I don't know how close we are to finishing up.
We have one more topic, but that's fine. If you got to go, you got to go. Go ahead and tell people where they can find you.
Sure. Well, I'm at the Hoglaw Twitter and Hoglaw YouTube channel. You got lots of stuff, the kind of which I talk about here. So please do check out those and put that like and subscribe in for Season Gaming. They deserve it.
Thank you, brother. I hope all's well. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
And now let's talk about The Last Jedi.
I hope everything's okay. Obviously,
Me too.
We will let I was gonna say we'll let readers know. My old man brain came out for a second, but we'll let everyone know.
Just for a second.
What's going on with it?
Not with every sentence.
But yeah, I like I said, it's made by Criterion. I'm pretty confident the game will probably have some cool racing and some cool elements to it. I hope it's good as always. It's just, again, as I keep trying to stress, right? It doesn't make the game bad. It's not for me, right? There's plenty of games that aren't for me. There's nothing wrong with that. So I hope
I would
it's
even be okay with them having like musical artists be as actors and all that stuff. And the tone of this struck me as being completely off and like not. I don't know. We'll see. It's too early to judge.
We'll see.
I'm just. It makes me sad. Is I guess the highlight here. I just want so badly for something like this to exist, and this just makes me sad when we see it miss the mark.
Well, you want to play Fast and Furious, the game, but not the game they made. You want to play a fully fledged kind of character that has the characters that you can develop with and make relationships with while having the racing over here as well.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to be like full like present day Fast and Furious with like action stuff. I would settle for like a straight up just a storyline that had car racing as its primary kind of gameplay section. It seems so obvious to me, and it makes me upset every time we see something like this get queued up and then it just falls down. I thought the crew was going to be it for a while, and then that didn't really work out. Like there's just so many examples of this, and the first thing that struck me on this one was just that the tone feels off, and that I'm not really going to enjoy it. And I played the last Need for Speed. I can't remember if it's the one you guys are talking about, Heat. That doesn't sound like the right game for me, but I remember it was one where there were characters and stories, but it was just terrible. It was like they kind of phoned it in. So we'll see.
Yeah. Last thing I want to mention, guys, is that Kojima has been teasing this project as he tends to do, right, with his next thing. And he found out this week, I think on Friday or a couple days ago, that Elle Fanning, the famous actress, is actually going to be in his next game. And he posted some pictures of her and everything. So obviously there's a lot of speculation going on right now around what he's teasing. And you know how people do with Kojima, they try to break down every image's posts and try to figure it out. But we don't know if this is Death Stranding 2, because there are rumors out there that he is working on the Death Stranding sequel, or if it's some new project entirely. So I was just going to ask you guys, because I know, Dan, you really enjoyed Death Stranding. I didn't play it just because like I was saying a couple minutes ago, not for me, which is fine. But Kojima, when you think about his next game, do you hope that's a Death Stranding 2? Is there a continuation there that you hope to see and build upon, or would you rather him start something new?
Without spoiling anything, I don't know where they would go from that. But I mean, they could. I looked into this a little bit.
Don't we also know this isn't Death Stranding 2? Just a clarification, real quick, because it's
so. No,
okay.
They never.
Because isn't it being published by Microsoft or something? Isn't this that one?
No, that's a separate. Well, we don't know. That's a separate project, which is it's got a code name. I forget what it is, but yeah.
So this could be then.
It could be. That's what I mean. It's all speculation right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think like Norman Reedus followed Elle Fanning on whatever social media site, recently, so that's where people are kind of putting these things together. Obviously, that could mean absolutely nothing. Elle Fanning, she's the lesser Fanning for me. I'm more of a Dakota guy myself, but she fits like she fits the Kojima motif, I guess, where you kind of get that actor who's probably pretty good, but she doesn't have like her name's like not huge, but it just seems. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's Kojima, man. This could be anything. It literally could be anything. If it's Death Stranding 2, fine. We know that's coming because Norman Reedus basically said it was.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
So, that's 100% happening. So I don't know. I have no idea. you know, it's gonna be one of those that I have to look at with like all Kojima games because it's just a crapshoot with that guy. You know, I'm not like a gigantic fan of him. I like his games, but I also, you know, sometimes people are weird, you know, just because they want to be weird, and that's fine. Do your thing, but you know, like just, you know, let's. Death Stranding was one of the first Kojima games that I actually understood mostly after playing through the whole thing, you know, which it says a lot because, you know, I played Metal Gear Solid 5 for a long, long time, many, many hours, and I still don't know what the hell that thing was about. So it's always kind of a crapshoot. I mean, this is fine, I guess. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a big Elle Fanning fan, I guess. So
to your point, I don't think this is not a shot at Elle Fanning. She's a famous actress, but I don't think she's got this huge fan base. It's like, oh my God, Elle Fanning's in a game, I'm going to go buy that game. I don't think it's to that level. I think this is more of getting a highly kind of talented actress to be in your game, right? Rather than just someone off the street. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, to your point, I totally forgot, Dan, about Norman Reedus basically leaking Death Stranding 2. So, and I have to imagine that Kojima Productions as a studio, I don't think they are big enough to be making 2 games simultaneously. I know they're working on that project with Microsoft, but I don't know what that looks like, right? We don't actually know what that is in detail anyway. So
it might not even be a game. It might be, you know, something, you know, or something.
It could be a partner studio. There could be a lot of things there, right? Where so if it is, this is very likely to be Death Stranding 2 related, I guess is what I'm saying. And
it sounds like we just stumbled upon that conclusion.
Yeah. And I think that it almost goes without saying in my mind that we will get the full reveal of this at the Video Game Awards in December, because that's where I'm sure Kojima is going to take advantage of, especially with the relationship with Keeley. So yeah, we'll see. Did you like Death Stranding, Travis? I can't remember. Did you play it?
I did not. I think it's very boring.
Okay,
yeah,
that's right.
Basically, if you watch the IGN review of it, that's sort of how I felt about it. Just by coincidence, I don't agree with every IGN review. I just that one really speaks to me. It's like it just takes a lot of time to do a very simple thing, and it has Monster Energy, you know, drink promotions and just all this weird stuff. You know what's funny is Hideo Kojima is super hit or miss with me. Like some of his games, I'll just like play it. Like Metal Gear Solid 4 for PlayStation 3. That game just like blew me away. 5 I also really liked. But then he'll come up with some of his games, like 50% of them, maybe 40%. I'll just play them and I'm like, I don't know what this is about, man. This is like even parts of Metal Gear Solid 5, like the story, like the opening with the whale that's on fire and all this crazy stuff. My eyes just sort of gloss over and I'm like, yo, this is like too anime for me, dude. Like, I don't know what's going on here. So I have a limit. And Death Stranding, really the part that offends me is like, even if you're a little lost in a Kojima story, and you would not at all be kind of judged for being lost in a Kojima story. The thing I always fall back on is that the games are usually fun to play, like Metal Gear Solid 5, even when it gets to the points where the story is kind of like, all right, some weird stuff's happening. I'm kind of confused. You're still having fun, you know, stealthing around and doing crazy stuff and pulling off stunts. It sort of has a very Hitman feel. So I'm sure Dan likes that game. Death Stranding offends me because the story is classically nonsensical, like all Kojima games are. And then on top of that, it just makes you play a very boring game. And I'm like, yo, that's where I draw the line. Once the game itself is like making me fall asleep. Sorry, Diablo 3. I have a problem. So Diablo 3 is a great game, by the way. Diablo 3 is a great game.
It's one of the GOATs. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. We never know with Kojima, like we said, but we are getting to that time of the year where we're getting a ton of game releases. We got the Video Game Awards coming up, so great time of year, and we'll see what happens. We got a couple of super chats to get to before we do anything else.
All right, Fat Boy Horror with the £2. Need for Speed Most Wanted story had Michael Rooker. Yeah,
all right.
That's right.
So yeah, that was good. And by the way, I looked it up, and Need for Speed Heat is the game I was thinking of. You guys are right. I played that entire game, by the way. I got through the whole story.
Well, at least it wasn't forgettable.
I know, dude. It's so sad when you play through. And that one wasn't even a review. I played it in my free time.
Oof. Sorry.
Yeah.
I haven't
Yeah.
played it. That's not fair, but you know.
No,
I'm going.
you're right though. Like it was just sort of forgettable. Like the story didn't land, and I just kind of was like, man, I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for like a good story car game. Like it just.
So to Fat Boy's point, Michael Rooker, right? And I want to say there was another one of their games that had some, but they keep trying these crossovers, and it's like, I think to your point, if you're gonna do it, take the full step and do the whole game properly, rather than trying to just make a racing game and plugging people into it. That doesn't seem.
What
to
was that game where you drove a spy car and you had to? Was it called Spy Racer?
Like
the
Spy
one where
Hunter.
Spy Hunter
was that the one where you had a spy car and you could like oil slick and shoot things?
Yeah,
and
Spy Hunter.
From the 80s, man.
Yeah. Hey, guess what? They made a movie out of that too.
They did.
Wait, that was from the 80s?
Yeah. I grew up playing that game in the arcade. Yeah, when I was a little kid.
Me too. It's one of my favorites.
One of my favorite games. You sit in the booth. Yeah, man.
Awesome. Oh my god, yeah, that game was awesome. Wait, but they did more with that franchise, right? There were other games.
There was a 360 generation game called Spy Hunter where they tried to bring it back.
I played that one too. Yeah. I think that might be the one I was thinking of actually. Or
it might have been PS2 and original Xbox. It was one of those.
I can't remember, but I remember I was definitely a teenager when that game came out, and I played that one and was just like, if they would have put a story in this game, because I just remember it being like a bunch of trials, like there wasn't really like a story behind it. It could have been so cool, but
Chad's saying it was PS2. Yeah, that era.
PS2. I played the PS2 Spy Hunter game. And I played the one in the 80s from the arcade as well. I played that one as well.
Yeah, it was hard, but it was good.
Wasn't the one I was thinking of then.
All games back then were hard, though. Thank you, Fat Boy. Appreciate you, brother. And Bizzle in the house. Dan, you're on mute, buddy.
No, I know. I was just testing you. Lunch Bizzle. L Bizzle. $20 super chat. I don't get to catch you guys live as much as I used to, but I wanted to show my support. Always a great show and great discussions. Keep up the great work, guys. Thank you, Bizzle. You're amazing.
Bizzle, you rock, brother. Always appreciate the support. One of our OGs around here, and I was very happy for him. If you're in our community, in our Discord, Bizzle is a gigantic Gears of War fan. And if you didn't know, Microsoft created these like full-size dioramas of Master Chief and Marcus, like standees, basically cardboard ones. I have them. Oh, yeah. They just announced this week that they're doing what's his name? Right? Dom, who is Bizzle's favorite character. So that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
So Bizzle, thank you, man. Appreciate you. All right, boys. I think we are going to go ahead and wrap it up. Chat, you've been amazing today, as always. Thank you very much. One big note before everyone runs away for this week. Next week's Bitcast, I will not be here, but the show is going on. So Hogue is going to take over hosting duties. Dan and Travis will obviously be here. It's going to be a 3-person show without me. I have a wedding to go to for family. I'll go ahead and say on the air, I'd rather be doing Bitcast. So, but I will actually be on a flight. So nothing I can do about it. So anyway, look for that next week. It'll still be on this channel. It'll be everything normal. I just won't be here. So you can make fun of me at my expense. And then the following week, we'll be back to the foursome, although I will be in Seattle at the Halo World Championships. But I'm going to do the show from Seattle that week. So I'll be nice and tired, just like Travis that morning.
I like the making fun of you at your expense, as if the alternative is making fun of you like for your benefit.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's see if we can make fun of Ains.
Yeah, do that.
To benefit him. Is that possible? I like it.
So anyway, keep an eye for that. But like I said, no change in the schedule. Just wanted to let you guys, I won't be here next week. So I will see you in 2 weeks. Personally,
it is a dog wedding, by the way. Confirmed. Dog wedding.
If you missed it on the Season Gaming channel, I did also sit down with Hogue one-on-one this week, like I did with Travis in the past, to just talk about his history with gaming, how he got into gaming, his journey through law school and what that looked like, how he tied the two together with his content creation on YouTube. So you can check that out. That was actually up and a timed exclusive for our patrons, but it is now live for everyone. So you can check that out. We also have one of our newest contributors at Season Gaming, Zach. You know him on Twitter as American Psycho, the big horror fan I told you about. He did a piece on asymmetrical games that is up on the site right now, where he talks about Dead by Daylight, Evil Dead, the upcoming Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and a few others, and talks about how they need to evolve. Lastly, Elliot, who you know as Direct Gaming, one of our video editors of Season Gaming, he actually is in Australia, of course. So he is covering PAX Australia live. So he's there over the course of this weekend. Actually, in Australia time, I think it's wrapping up now or closed out. But keep an eye for some things from there as well. So appreciate all of you. Travis, go ahead and tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, I'll have my review of Plague Tale Requiem live on Monday the 17th. I think we figured out on this show. I've got a preview. I can't talk about anything. I can't talk about anything, guys. Follow me on IGN.com, and you can follow me on Twitter at TagGuyTravis, where I will tell you things I can talk about when I can talk about them. But needless to say, as we get into the October-November period, lots of cool games coming out, lots of content for me to cover. And I'm working on a bunch of stuff that's coming out next year, early 2023, and I'm going to be able to talk about it shortly. So
cool.
Very excited.
Yeah, it is a lot of reviews coming down the line, a lot of releases over
the next
several weeks.
I'm doing a review a week these days. Isn't that fun?
It's crazy.
A review a week. Yeah.
Wow. I forget what I'm reviewing over the next several weeks, but yeah, I got to take a look apparently. All right, Dan.
Baby's here. Like literally between the time we started.
And dang.
Yeah.
Good. Everyone healthy? Happy?
Yeah, everybody's good. It's Murray.
It was a live
James.
birth. A live birth on Season Gaming. How cool.
We did it. We
did a dog wedding and a live birth. We cover it all.
Good job, guys. That's how we do it. Everybody have a good week.
Yes, everyone have a good week. Thank you as always for tuning in. We really appreciate your support. The like I said, the views and the comments and everything's been absolutely incredible lately. We love you. We hope you enjoy it. We hope we give you something that you don't find in other gaming podcasts. I think we do, but it's always good to hear from you guys as well. And other than that, have a very good week. I hope you have some great gaming. Hope you have some great times. Hope everything is well for you. With that, we will go ahead and get out of here. And I will see you in 2 weeks. These guys will see you next week. Until then, peace.